2024 plan, moderation.
Hey.
He just like started sweet talking.
Oh, hey, Vegan Gains. What's up?
Hello. Apparently Xena wanted to know more about nihilism.
Well, I don't know about that, but I think I was like, she was in here the other night, and I messaged you, and then you messaged me today.
Yeah.
Xena's here again, so I was like, oh, you come in now. You like, if I said that, I was like, oh, I think she would benefit from learning about nihilism. Okay. Xena, what do you think? Hello.
I think she's applying nihilism right now. She don't give a fuck.
Applying nihilism right now.
No, I'm just kidding.
She just walk away? Xena just walk away? I'm looking at Xena's chat right now.
She's back. She just needs to.
No, I'm literally right here. Give me a second, because I'm fixing
up?
I'm trying to make sure, because I feel like my OBS, the way the screen is, it's capturing everything instead of just the pop out Discord call. And I'm like,
how do I do this for Xena? Here, I'll make this better for you,
like
Xena.
this is crazy. Because I feel like my screen. Hold on, I'm about to check right now to see if it's working. Guys, is it showing like the whole OBS? I'm about to just turn my Discord camera off.
Wait, no. Fuck. I just pulled it up.
My stream?
No, the Discord camera.
You know what you can do?
Oh, wait, I think it is fine. Wait, I think my stream is fine now. Wait. It was... Who's texting me? It was showing literally... Okay.
You probably thought it was OBS because I was looking at your stream, so it was probably doing like the universal thing. Not universal thing. But your stream just cut out, though.
Yeah, it does that, and I don't know what's wrong with it doing that either. It's pretty annoying. Okay, so Vegan Gains was saying something?
Yeah, I wanted to, like, I was wondering if you'd want to know more about nihilism for treatment of, like, depression and shit.
Okay. I'm gonna mute myself, and I'm gonna listen for a bit, and try to keep up.
Yeah, so
Is everybody else gonna entertain this? Like, Justico and Cherry, you guys are gonna interject.
Well,
right? We're gonna make this
I'm along for the ride.
All right. Let me check my cat real quick. I'm listening. I got my headphones in, but let me see, because she's like going like a...
Well, we'll just chill and talk about something else. Vegan Gains, what's up?
Yeah.
If I can ask, Vegan Gains,
where's your bench at? No, hold on. My question first. Where's your bench at?
Well, I just started practicing heavy singles. So I'm peaking for the 405 bench. I did 375 for a heavy single. That went up super easy. So the next heavy single is going to be 385 or 390. It's pretty much guaranteed that I'll hit that. And the last working set that I did, it was 365 for 4 sets of 3.
Okay. Sick. All right. How confident are you? Is this the first time you've tried to work up to this milestone, or is this like, have you tried multiple times to get here?
Well, I've been trying for a while. It's just that I fell pretty short just because I didn't accumulate high enough. I just needed to build more muscle.
Okay.
Vegan Gains, I hit a possum with my car about 10 years ago. Chat is holding it over my head, so I'm just gonna get that out of the way right now, okay?
Okay.
BB, alrighty. Let's get into this panel. Yo, chat, can you guys be a little bit more active? I don't care if you're just saying random stuff. Trigger me or something so we derail conversations here and there. Let's make this interesting. I'm talking to my chat, my bad.
All right. Well,
all right, so nihilism.
Yeah, so I had lifelong depression, basically, very severe suicidal depression, since I was about 5 or 6 years old. And I've been trying to do everything to alleviate the depression. I did resort to going on a variety of different antidepressants. I also tried taking magic mushrooms. And just recently, I had an extremely big breakthrough on a magic mushroom trip where I fully internalized nihilism, where it's not just that I understood that nothing matters, but I actually feel like nothing matters. And I have been interested in depression and the human condition for a long time. And I've come to the conclusion that if we can just believe and internalize nihilism and recognize the truth that nothing matters, it is a cure for suffering. This idea that we create that certain things matter, that there's something meaningful we can do, it ensures that anytime you try to enjoy yourself by, I don't know, watching SpongeBob, getting your nails done, even things that are maybe more productive towards, some sort of, I don't know, goal that you might find to be more meaningful. So like just working out in the gym,
Oh my
exercising.
god, pause. I'm so sorry, chat. I had no fucking idea. I'm so sorry. I have to apologize for my stream because when I put the headphones in, the mic was no longer picking up the speaker sound, and I didn't have desktop audio for Discord on. This whole time, they were watching me just staring at my screen.
Do you need vegan gains to go through the start of what nihilism
Didn't hear
means
that.
for your
So
chat?
sorry.
Well-
Unfortunately, yes. I would like for this to like kind of rewind because I'm.
She's saying
oh my
like her
God.
stream wasn't caught up to
Yeah,
what you're saying,
sure.
so she was following.
They didn't
but-
hear anything anybody else was saying because I had headphones in, and I didn't change the audio in my OBS setting, and my mod just told me, basically.
Okay, did you just fix it?
Yeah, it's fixed now. They can hear everything.
Okay, so just to run through everything. I've had lifelong depression ever since I was 5 or 6, and suicidal depression. I've come very close to attempting suicide ever since I was 5 or 6 years old. What cured my depression, and I'm very confident it's cured now, I'm off all antidepressant medications for over 2 months now. I've still felt great. It was a mushroom trip in which I fully internalized nihilism. I was a nihilist before. Nihilism is simply the belief that there is no objective meaning in the universe. There's no objective good. There's no objective bad. These are all things that are generated by the mind. Nihilism is, it's sort of like it's a truth, it's a knowledge, but actually being able to internalize something like that is very difficult. And for whatever reason, on that mushroom trip, I was able to feel it. I was able to feel the lack of meaning. And getting rid of that delusion of meaning, it just blew away my depression. I had a very rough childhood. I held a lot of resentment towards friends and family, people who fucked with me in school, my parents just mistreating me. And it just all went away because I realized it didn't matter. Absolutely nothing matters. Your happiness, your pain, your suffering, none of it matters. And if none of it matters, it allows you to make a choice with how you want to feel about things. Because there is no meaning, because there is no objective truth when it comes to morality, when it comes to things that are meaningful, you can choose what is and isn't meaningful to you. You're not bound by someone else's rules where if you're just sitting indoors watching SpongeBob, you're wasting your time. You don't have to react to certain things in a certain way where there's this expectation where somebody has to treat you a certain way or else they're wronging you. You can just choose to look at everything as if it is a stupid game, which it is. Everything is a stupid game. And if everything is a stupid game, why are you getting mad at anything? Like this rejection of meaning, this expectation that we all put on ourselves and put on everything, that things need to be a certain way or else it's not meaningful or else some sort of wrong is being committed. All of that gets blown away and you can see everything for what it is, and it's a stupid game. And if it's a stupid game, there's no need to get sad about things. There's no need to get angry. There's no suffering
untime
any
him out.
longer. So
He
what
can
do you?
spam. It's fine. Untime him out.
So what do you think of that?
So is nihilism? You already know what I'm going to say. Is nihilism something new that you just started?
No.
Or this is something you've had for years? And the reason I'm gonna say that is you get pretty passionate when it comes to not even just veganism, but even atheism, to where like you've said derogatory things even towards me for not sharing the same opinion. So if nothing matters, then like you said, arguably about what morality and stuff like that. There's no objective truth about morality. Then there's no objective truth about me eating chicken wings. Like it shouldn't matter, and it shouldn't change your view of me as a person if we are actually and truly believing in nihilism and practicing it.
Yeah. So. Just because you recognize that nothing is meaningful, it doesn't mean that you can't have any sort of personal values. The only reason I can see for why we choose to exist is that we benefit from existing. And there are social benefits. If we live in a world where we respect each other's rights, where we do certain things, where we don't kill and eat animals, where we don't kill each other. There are social benefits to these things where we personally end up benefiting. So even though I'm a nihilist, yeah, like I can just make it is objectively true that conscious beings benefit from certain outcomes. I benefit from sleeping on a warm bed instead of sleeping outside on the wet grass.
Like, I get that, but again, maybe I'm taking the nihilist thing a bit too serious, because it's like, when doing that, you're contradicting it by saying like it matters to make a case about personal benefits. It doesn't matter to do that. You get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, so a contradiction is
That's why
a
I'm just, like, the
proposition
reason why
and
I'm,
it's a
like-
negation. So what's the proposition and what's the negation?
the negation would be it mattering, right? Because that would be against the nihilism.
I'm not saying it matters. I'm saying that there is
That you're choosing when it matters.
Well, no,
Like you said.
yeah, so I'm not saying I'm choosing when it matters. What I'm saying is we can objectively look at things and determine what does and doesn't benefit us. So
Like
when
being in total control, basically. Like being in control, like you're your own god, basically, which is fine. But yeah, right?
I don't know
Like you're choosing
if
what affects
I'd
you, you're choosing what matters to you.
So
like that's what you're
no, that's not what I'm
Yeah?
saying. Regardless of whether or not you're a nihilist, you are going to look at the world in terms of what does and does not benefit you. If you're a nihilist, I think that categorization of things becomes much more clear. What does and does not benefit you, because there isn't this delusion of meaning that kind of blurs things. There isn't this idea that there's a God that has certain rules that I have to follow, like I can't masturbate, or I can't have certain relationships, or any number of things. I can't have certain job. If nothing matters, there is no God. Well, there could be a God. It's just that you're not beholden to what this God is telling you to do. There could be a God out there that exists, but nihilism would still be true. God could not have the power to generate meaning. So if we're able to get rid of this delusion of meaning, we can categorize things in a much more accurate manner of what benefits us and what does not benefit us.
Is God like a genie?
Wouldn't you think some things necessarily just automatically do have meaning? Like, doesn't the basic need of knowledge, or like even human functions, has meaning?
Well, what is meaning?
Well, I don't know. You tell me. You're preaching nihilism. So, like, what is the meaning that we're trying to negate? Like, what is the meaning we're trying to get rid of and justify? It doesn't matter. Like, what is the purpose? Like, the purpose or whatever. Right?
Well, I'm asking you a question. Like, what is meaning? What is meaning to you? So I'll give you, say, different things, and you can sort of rank them in terms of meaning. Watching SpongeBob, going to the gym, working a 9-to-5 job, assassinating a political figure.
Wait, am I supposed to pick which one I would rather do?
No, I'm saying
Which
rank
ones
them in
mean the most?
rank them in terms of meaning.
In terms of meaning and fulfillment, let's see.
Well,
You said
fulfillment
one was
is
watching SpongeBob.
fulfillment
would
is
be
a different
watching
thing.
SpongeBob.
I'm asking specifically
Okay.
meaning.
I think it would have to be assassinating the public figure.
That would be the most
Like you're
meaningful.
killing someone. Like that has a lot of meaning. Not saying it's good meaning, but that's the most meaningful. No, like you're killing someone.
Okay, and why does that have more meaning than watching SpongeBob?
Because you could be possibly changing the course of history in other people's lives. Whereas if you sat home and watched SpongeBob, you more than likely aren't.
Right.
That's what meaning
So
is. The way meaning is probably to affect more than just one person as well.
So meaning to you means affecting more than just one person.
Yeah, I think everybody, like, it's by your own your own perspective of what you determine meaning for you is. Like for somebody else, what's meaningful could be that sitting at home with family watching SpongeBob is more meaningful than changing the course of history to somebody else. Meaning is like subjective.
Right, meaning subjective.
I'm probably not articulating that well, but like.
Well, if you're going to recognize, well, before we get there, you're making the point that changing the course of people's lives is more meaningful.
Meaning to me.
Right, that's more.
Me
So if I were to kill every single person on the planet, that would be the most meaningful thing I could do?
That would have a lot of meaning behind it. Like,
Sure. I think that would probably follow.
Like,
for Xena.
okay, pause. Because I feel like he was asking me a question. That's why I thought I was picking something. Like, which would I do? Because I thought you were asking me what is significance to meaning for me. Like, out of all of that, what would have the most meaning would be that action, because it did affect. To me, I love history and things like that. That's something that's gonna induce those types of things for me to feel like that has meaning. Whereas for somebody else or you, it might be something different, like watching SpongeBob.
Okay,
Like-
right. So you're defining meaning as something that causes the most change to the most amount of people.
That's what meaning is for me. Yes, that's what I find to be meaningful. Yes.
Okay, so if there are an infinite number of actions you could take. You could say press like a red button that would erase everybody from existence. That would probably be the most change you could possibly make versus watching SpongeBob, which is probably the least change you could possibly make to people's lives. Pressing the red button
That would
and
be my
eliminating
take, yeah.
everything would. So what? But what are we getting from this outcome that creates meaning to you?
So I don't associate meaning with just good feelings. Like, I
Right.
think my experience, what I'm going through right now, has meaning. I don't like what the fuck I'm going through. I don't feel good at all. Let's just say that I do not feel good. Like 10 out of 10, I am at my worst. But I understand, for me, like spiritually and everything, that this is meaningful. This is something that necessarily needs to happen in my life for me to change my ways, get better, mentally grow and experience. So for me, it is meaning because it not only is it just affecting me, it's obviously affecting the other person a great deal and the people around that person, and it's affecting everybody around me. So that's why I feel like, yes, that is what is meaning
Right.
for
So
me.
what I'm pointing out is there could be something that could be considered horrible that could end all of existence, and you would consider that to be meaningful. But something that just causes, I don't know, peace, well-being, sense of happiness, that's something that is the least meaningful. So like what are we getting out of this idea of meaning? What are we getting out of it?
Out of which meaning? Of like the killing all the people, or?
Yeah, I mean, when you say killing all human beings on the
Or
planet.
you're talking about me. What am I getting out of everything that I consider meaning? Like, because you're trying to
Yeah, like your definition of
what I'm going through.
your
Okay.
definition of meaning is what causes the most change for the most amount of people. Well, the most change for the most amount of people could be infinite, infinite ongoing suffering, torture, and Holocaust. Like you could press a button
Well,
and send
doesn't have to be
everybody to
the
hell, or we could press a button.
Wait, because it doesn't have to be the most people, but in that option that affected the most people in the options that you gave me, it could be me and one other person. Like, it's just something that's not necessarily a selfish gain, like a selfish I don't know how to articulate it, but it's not just a self thing, but it affects more than one person, which is the self.
Well, like again, the definition you gave me was something that affects the most amount of people would be meaningful.
Well, hold on. I think probably for the purpose of this discussion, I'm not sure that meaning makes sense. I think the stuff that's depressing Xena are things that are happening like personally to her, like with her relationships. And so while she might not, like, there's probably, for the purpose of like kind of fighting with what's making her sad right now, I think it does have a lot more personal context. She might not say it's like the most important thing, but I think probably for like making herself personally happy, she probably cares more about the stuff going on right now rather than like some politician getting assassinated or like even a nuclear bomb going off somewhere. It's like probably if a nuclear bomb went off in Japan, she wouldn't feel as bad as she does in the situation she's in now.
Well,
Would you say that's accurate, Xena? That like
no, because what I was saying is because he gave those specific options, so we were still going off that. Like, obviously, in this state of mind, like, who knows if I just randomly snap and assassinate a fucking public figure? Like, I could be so manic and crazy that I do something like that. You don't know, but so it doesn't necessarily matter. Like, I still feel empathy for other people that are going through things. I just had a heart to heart with a friend that's really going through something similar as well, and I feel just as bad for them. And I think what they're going for has meaning and purpose as well. So it's not just about me being only in my bubble.
sure. I think I understand what you're saying. I'm not saying you don't care about this.
But I'm going to be,
saying that,
like you said, hyper focused on my situation. Yeah.
well, yeah, I don't think you would be, and I'm not like accusing you of anything, but I don't think you'd be like looping over your friend's problems in quite the same way, right? Like it's because it's personal. I'm not saying it doesn't have to be do it being selfish. It's like the thing that you can't get out of your mind, right? You can be selfish when you're talking about like your own personal like emotions and feelings. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but
So that's all I'm saying is like sorry, go ahead, Vegan Gains.
The point I'm making is like the way she's defining meaning can be something that's very bad, or something that we perceive as very bad, like ending the lives of 8 billion people, or pressing a button that would magically send somebody to an eternal hell. But an action that doesn't cause any harm, that might have some personal
No,
benefit, like
something
watching
that's really good
SpongeBob,
is still
is
good
less
too.
meaningful.
Okay, let's put in the option of you could press a button and cure cancer around the world. I would consider that extremely meaningful. I'm saying good or bad.
Right. So you're saying
So
meaning could be good or bad.
yeah,
Right. But
something
what?
that causes significant change is what I consider meaning, good or
So
bad.
so something
Good
that
and bad can cause
causes
significant
right. So
change.
something that causes significant change is meaningful, but that doesn't make it good or bad. Meaning to you could be either way, good or bad.
Yeah, by perspective, I guess. Yeah.
But the things that you're interested in, like curing cancer, or maybe improving your own mental state, or improving the lives of other people, those decisions aren't necessarily the most meaningful you could make, but you are recognizing that they're causing the most amount of benefit.
Okay, I think this would maybe go a little faster. I understand what you're saying, kind of, Vegan Gains, but I think
I'm glad
probably.
somebody knows what's
So
going on.
here's what I
Well,
would.
the point
wanna
I'm making is
hear
we don't
from
even
you,
care
just-
about meaning. We care about benefiting, benefiting from existence.
Yes, but I think people probably conflate the two. So I was gonna say, like, could you go through how
That's where the
feeling like you were assigning?
Sorry?
Well, that's where your breakthrough came from. I'm guessing is that you were able to disentangle those two things, right?
Well, yeah. This pursuit of meaning, it's kind of like a carrot that's dangling in front of your head that you can never catch. I'm sure you've all heard of the hedonic treadmill. Big celebrities like Will Smith have talked about this. They think,
I've definitely heard of it, but just you should introduce it.
yeah.
Just
So
in case you weren't going to.
So there's this idea of the hedonic treadmill where we're chasing after something. We could be chasing after money. We could be chasing after fame. We could be chasing after a higher position in our jobs. Celebrities fall into this trap a lot of the time where they're constantly after these bigger, better, more important things. If I make this certain amount of money, I'll finally be happy. If I get this, bigger movie role where I become a massive star, I'm going to finally be happy. I think our mind kind of is wired probably through evolution to think this way because it creates a situation where we're striving to get to a place where we have a greater survivability. So if we think our happiness is going to be tied to having more resources, having more social status, having more power, being in that spot of more food, more social status, more power is going to increase our survivability. It doesn't necessarily increase our happiness. And you'll find this in many people who do obtain the, highest status in society. Will Smith was on Bradley Martin's podcast talking about this. He was constantly after more money, more fame, more power, more influence. And each time he got to that point, he wasn't happy in that position and he had to look further and say, okay, I got to get more. I got to get more. I got to get more. And you're going to reach a point where you can't possibly get more. And what Will Smith eventually realized was happiness is just a state of mind. It's simply a state of mind. It's nothing that's external that generates happiness. It's an outlook on life. So the glass half full versus half empty sort of mindset. The way we kind of introduce meaning into our train of thought, where I will have a more meaningful life if I say have a certain job or I do certain things. What we're after isn't meaning. What we're after is something that benefits us. We want to be happy. We want to live lives that we enjoy, not a life that's meaningful. Because what even is meaning? It doesn't exist. It's this elusive idea that's created by your mind. And when you get there, there will always be something on the horizon that is more meaningful or gives you more money, more power, or whatever you think is kind of tied to this thing called happiness. And this idea of meaning just deludes you into thinking, I can't be happy, I can't benefit from existing unless I have this certain thing, whatever meaning is to you.
I feel like I could say a lot right now, but I'm gonna let you guys go first.
Wait, what was that noise? Did somebody play a soundboard?
No.
was my voice.
No, before you
So-
spoke, there was a sound, so I had to check what the fuck
Oh.
that was. It was creeping me out. So basically, your argument isn't gonna be like it seemed kind of like you were going like you're fighting me on what I consider to be meaningful versus what someone else might, like the SpongeBob thing. So it's like the argument is then saying,
So
like, are you saying
just
some people like
well,
nothing has meaning at
hold
all?
up. Well, hold up. Just so you understand, like, just to put the conversation in context.
Mhm.
The point I was making with asking you what you think meaning is, it was to point out that you don't even care about what's meaningful. You care about what's beneficial. This idea of meaning is a delusion, and I think it's something that might be culturally created, and there might be some sort of evolutionary aspect here where we are sort of naturally prone to believing in something like meaning or believing in something like God because it increases our survivability.
I think slavery was beneficial. I don't think the Holocaust was beneficial. I think it had all these or Charles Manson. None of that was none of that was
None of it was beneficial.
beneficial. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I
you
think
could say
all
it was
had meaning.
meaningful.
I could say it was meaningful. It changed history in many types of ways. But I'm not saying that it's beneficial. I don't think there's something that's meaning.
Right, so you don't even really
beneficial.
care about what's meaningful. You care about what's beneficial. You don't want to see a second Holocaust.
Well, I'm saying if it's not beneficial, then that doesn't mean I care about what's beneficial. I'm saying that's not the important thing. No, of course I wouldn't want to see another Holocaust or mass murder thing. Like, it's not beneficial what's going on with Palestine and Israel, but it clearly has a lot of meaning to a lot of people.
Right, so that was the point I was making. You don't even care about seeing meaningful things. You care about seeing beneficial things.
No, that's where I'm trying. This is where you're confusing me. If I'm saying that's not what is meaningful, it being beneficial, and I don't care about that, I'm obviously like this might sound wrong. Like I enjoy learning about like Charles Manson and things like that. Not because it's beneficial, like haha, these people died, but
Well, we can
understand
learn
the
from
meaning
these things.
behind
We
it.
can learn from other mistakes and prevent ourselves from making them, and again, lead to a more beneficial world. But the point I'm making here is that no one really cares about this idea of meaning. We care about what's beneficial. So why are we introducing this idea of meaning into our thought process where we tell ourselves watching SpongeBob or jerking off or just going outside having fun, having, some casual relationships, all of these things are meaningless, and we're preventing ourselves from actually enjoying the moment and extracting the most amount of benefit we can have out of any moment by saying it's not the most meaningful thing we can do, when what we really care about is benefiting from our existence.
So I want to understand how this does apply with like the argument with atheism or veganism.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it seems like it has a lot of meaning. You literally say, like, for example, animals deserve to have rights.
Sorry, Xena,
So
just really
where-
quickly, I'll short circuit this. He's saying that logically he can prove that veganism is beneficial to the world. That's why he supports it. It's not that it's meaningful
So he's
or that he's
saying
like
that
trying
that's
to
what
save
it is.
people.
Okay,
He's
so
saying
he's
it's just
saying
beneficial.
he cares about what is beneficial then.
Well, he's saying everybody does, they just don't realize it, and he's realized it through his.
We don't care about what's meaningful.
Okay.
So,
okay.
let me give a sort of, I don't know, thought experiment to you. If we could create a reality sort of like The Matrix, where everyone's mind is uploaded into a machine, and every single experience you can possibly have is the most amazing, blissful, beautiful, pleasurable experience. No one ever suffers, no one feels any pain, and everyone is in a constant state of bliss and happiness. Would you say that is a meaningful existence? Or would you say that's a less meaningful existence, but more people are benefiting from existing in that sort of way?
Okay, I was listening. I'm
Oh
so
my
sorry.
God, that's a nice cat.
Oh, thank you. She's unfortunately carnivorous.
Yeah, you should feed her a vegan
But,
diet. Benevo vegan cat food's really good.
Do cats actually eat? Is there actually vegan cat food?
Yep.
don't know if that would be
There's
good
a
for
variety of
snakes.
brands. I feed my cats Benevo vegan cat food. And it seems to be a little bit better for cats. They seem to live about as long, but they're less prone to health issues.
Oh yeah, what about with Sphinx? Because Sphinx already have like certain like specific dietary things and stuff like like
I've
she can get eczema, they get oily, like they gotta eat certain ways and yeah, they
yeah,
got all types of problems.
I don't know about breed specific conditions. I'd have to look into that, but I'd be surprised if Sphinx couldn't like eat a vegan diet. But like back to the question,
Yeah,
if
I'm
we
sorry,
could
ask me the question again.
if we could live in a world where no one suffers, no one feels any pain, and every moment of every day you are in a constant state of pure bliss and pleasure, would you consider that a meaningful existence? Or would you consider
Maybe
that
one
a
second.
less meaningful existence, but more people benefit from existing?
You better not fucking pee anywhere. I'm sorry, I had to check if my cat fucking pissed because she was like moist, but I think she's just oily. Like, yeah, so
Okay,
like I
not
got scared
meaningful
for a
for me,
second.
by the way. Just so you know,
I'm
somebody's
sorry.
listening.
I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
not
Ask the
good.
question one more time. I got freaked out. Like I literally thought I had like
Okay,
she peed or something.
Xena, if
I
you
was
could
scared. I'm
live,
sorry.
let's say you could live in like a virtualized reality where you never felt any pain, you felt nothing but the best stuff, just always, feeling the best feelings, having the best experiences, no negative downsides. Would that be a more meaningful existence than the one you have now, or less meaningful?
If I could do it without pain and still have the same like what outcome?
No, if you let's say you could, let's say it's the fuck. Should I just use the Matrix?
So you could like live in
You
heaven,
just get,
basically.
yeah, you could live in heaven,
No.
not die.
That would get boring. That would get boring. I haven't overcome that toxic trait where I'm addicted to my emotions. I like emotional
I don't think
regulation.
I don't think that's a toxic
like
trait. I think that's a pretty normal.
yeah, like I
Yeah, I
can't
think it's a
be
pretty normal
stagnant with.
answer.
I know that sounds crazy because somebody should just want to always be happy, but like, how do you know what's happiness if you're not sad? If you don't experience sadness? So like, no, I think my life would be meaningless if I couldn't experience happiness and sadness. Like, I have to experience all of these human emotions because I'm here on this human mortal plane, and I want to experience every emotion a human has. Otherwise, my life has no meaning. I hope that answers the question. If I
Right.
heard it
So
right.
this ties back to the point I'm making. Humans are orchestrating their own suffering by believing in meaning. We deliberately put ourselves in a position where we cause ourselves suffering. Like, look at it this way: if we were watching rage clips on Reddit, like r/freakout, and we were watching some people who were driving stupid, they pull over on the side of the road, start screaming at each other, throwing fists. We could all laugh at that because we know it's stupid. What they're doing is pointless. There's no reason for them to drive that way. They should have been paying attention. And even if they weren't and somebody fucked up and made a mistake, there's no reason to get mad at somebody for just simply making a mistake and making the situation worse for themselves by getting mad and then throwing fists and then hurting each other and then possibly ending up in jail. But because we know it's stupid, because we know it's all pointless, and like it just becomes a joke to us and we can laugh it off. But some reason, when it's happening to us, we do that. We create the situation where we think that person shouldn't have done this sort of thing. The situation I'm in has any kind of meaning to it, and because it's meaningful to me, I have to react in this sort of way where I have to get angry. I have to start throwing fists with this person. I have to end up getting arrested because nobody should have done this to me. This is all created from this idea that our lives are meaningful, or that there's some sort of meaning to existence and things have to be a certain way. People have to act a certain way. I have to respond in a certain way when something happens to me. Everything is a stupid, pointless joke, but when we're out of the situation, we can recognize it's a stupid, pointless joke. And there's no difference when we're in that situation. It's still a stupid, pointless joke, and we can all laugh at it. And we can all have a mindset that this is stupid. Why are people behaving this way? There is no reason for it. And we're just watching a sitcom play out in front of our eyes, even when we're the ones in that situation. But because we're tied to this idea of meaning, we can't put ourselves in that situation, and we're deliberately putting ourselves in a circumstance where we're orchestrating our own suffering. And Xena, I mean, put it so blatantly, I would rather suffer, experience pain, sadness, these feelings of loss and misery, as opposed to constantly being happy and in a state of bliss, because that wouldn't be meaningful. Well, who the fuck cares about meaning? Meaning is something that's generated from your own mind. Even she said meaning is subjective. So she's creating a subjective delusion for the purpose of causing herself suffering. And then we're asking ourselves, why am I in the state of pain? Why do I have to be so miserable? And we're asking, like, she's going on Destiny's stream, asking for relationship advice. How do I pull myself out of this? How do I, like, get rid of these feelings of loss and dread? How do I get over this person? She's creating her own set of circumstances that are putting herself in that position, and she's deliberately putting herself in that position so that she can feel pain and suffering while not wanting to feel pain and suffering and wanting to get out of that. And it's this endless cycle when you could break that cycle and just realize nothing has meaning. It is all stupid. The only reason I can think of for why we would want to continue to exist is so that we can benefit from existing. And the way we can benefit from existing is recognizing that everything is fucking meaningless. And we can get rid of these stupid ideas of meaning, of purpose, and we can just look at situations for what they are, a stupid, dumb fucking game, and we can all benefit from the game. We don't have to get angry, we don't have to feel miserable, we don't have to suffer, and we can just realize the truth that happiness is something within us, anger, sadness is something that's within us, and we can just flat out hey. Yeah, my stupid, my power turned off. What? Right. Give me 1 second, my audio settings are fucked. Oh my god. Yeah, give me 1 second, this... Dude. There we go. And now... That's still not showing up. I'm just gonna back out of Discord for a second. I'll be right back. My stupid fucking camera isn't turning back on after the power outage. That's why my camera isn't up. Super annoying. Why? What? How in the fuck are my headphones not showing up? Oh my god. This is like actually insane. Connected. Device settings. Hands-free telephony off.
I mean, are they punished in some way? Like,
There we
is there whipping? And, take your time. Don't leave out any details.
What the fuck is playing?
But listen, so I've heard. But we all need to be prepared to obey the law and
What?
avoid the temptations of pornography, which is why I'm proud to.
Oh my god. Okay, now we've got that sorted. There we go. Okay. All right, I'm
Do
back.
anything
This
about-
works now.
And you
I mean, you
want
can detach
something
the
to
meaning
happen
behind it, but sometimes
Yeah.
meaning helps you get over it better. Versus if you have no meaning behind it, sometimes like meaning does not mean feeling. You're going to feel bad if you're close with someone and you're attached with them and things happen, or you're going to feel bad if someone dies. You can decide if there's meaning behind it to help cope with that, to get over it or overcome like that grief. But regardless, you're going to feel grief. Now you can just feel grief because you're a natural human, you're going to feel it and it doesn't mean shit and we just go through shit, or you can attach a meaning to it and make it into something better. Which is just a helping coping thing. That's just what I think.
I think most, from what I understand, you would have like meaning. People want meaning in their life, and if you're like healthy, you make sense of the events that occur, and you're able to continue forward, knowing that like those moments, those goals, whether you reach them or not, that it is like what you're driving towards or striving towards that keeps you in the game, right? Like the meaning of life is not to break up and become like a stronger person. The meaning of life is like to find joy for some people, pleasure for others, whatever meaning is to you. But like in those specific events, those aren't supposed to. You don't need to make sense of those
Yeah,
events for meaning.
so I'd completely reject that idea. In what way would meaning, say, help you get over the loss of a loved one? So, say if you're like, I don't know, husband or wife died. If meaning was somehow created in this context, how does that make that any less sorrowful than recognizing that there is no meaning behind any of this and things just happen that are out of our control?
Well, I think meaning is taught to us. It's like we learn it growing up. And that's why everybody has like different meanings for like their life or feel like they have different purposes. When you talk about death, I'll just like think of the Lion King, right? This is the circle of life. They created meaning in order to get past those like really dark moments that just come up in life that you can't avoid. Meaning, in that regard, I think would help people get past that. It's unavoidable. Death is unavoidable. So meaning, in the case of the Lion King, I think effectively helped people.
I don't understand. How does the Lion King fit into any of this? Like I'm asking
You
you.
said if somebody dies, they just decide to choose cartoons instead of like, I don't know, like real people.
Well, I'm asking you if two people are in the exact same situation, their wife or spouse dies. One person is a nihilist and recognizes there is no meaning behind anything. The reason my wife died is because we live in a universe that we can't control, and that is just something that's inevitable to happen. And
I think that's meaning. You just this is what I'm confused about with your ideology.
What was that
or,
noise?
Oh, you might be listening to mute the stream that you're watching of jstlk. There's like a mute button because you're hearing his pop-up alerts and stuff.
Oh, it's in his pop-up. Oh,
Yeah.
how do I? Okay, let me figure out how to do exactly that. Oh,
is that-
oh my god,
Yeah,
that's
that's
literally
what
what
it
I was suffering with this whole time. I'm a
Okay.
retard.
So, vegan Gains, do you feel like what you're essentially saying is like life is chaos, there's no meaning or purpose, but you don't find that to be giving yourself a meaning?
how am I giving myself a meaning?
Because I think that there are people who can get through hard times by just telling themselves it's inevitable.
Okay, so
everything's
can you like
And then they don't have to
prove
feel
meaning?
sad about it.
Well, hold on. Just vegan gains. Can you tell me what the difference is between you saying that means nothing, the universe is chaotic, and a Christian going, yeah, it's just God's plan, and moving forward?
Well, the
there a
difference
difference?
is one is descriptively true, one isn't. That's one major
Okay.
difference. The other difference is something that's going to result as a result of like that belief or mindset. So, if you believe God has this ultimate plan, you're believing that there's this all-powerful being that just bullies us, tortures us, makes us suffer, and we have to bow down to this bully's will or just basically get fucked over by this big magical being that we have no power over and just kind of deal with it.
And
Okay.
I think
And that's
on
that,
your
like that somehow
perspective-
is going to make you feel better.
It doesn't have to make you feel better. On your perspective, I just live in this universe, this world where neurons, whatever, all atoms, they all come together, and any moment now, a fucking meteorite can crash into my planet and I die. And I'm supposed to feel better knowing that can happen any moment?
Well, again, if you reject the idea of meaning, you don't have to get results that you want.
Okay. and then
Anything that happens to
okay,
you,
I agree.
anything
I'm
that
fine with your
happens to
statement right
you
there.
that's out of your control, you don't have to miserate about it because
I'm
there
fine
is
with
no
your point right
meaning
there,
behind
yeah.
it. There,
The
the outcome
thing is
that
what you said after that, though. When you were talking to Xena and you said that, like, afterward, I think what was it that you were explaining, that, like, everyone should do what benefits them? Like, there's no meaning, but people just want to do what benefits them, right?
yeah, we
Something like
have preferences and we want to see certain outcomes.
And that should be their, like, motivator for life. Do what
That
benefits
is
them.
our motivator for life.
So the meaning of life is self-pleasure.
I'm
is
not
a
saying
meaning
that.
of life.
I'm not saying there's any meaning. I'm saying this is the human condition. This is the way we function and the way we think of the world. We're not trying to seek meaning. We're trying to get a benefit out of existing. And there's these people who are trying to tell you the way we get a benefit from existing is doing things that are meaningful. But what I'm saying is quite the opposite. Rejection of meaning is something that's going to benefit you. This idea of pursuing meaning is something that's clearly not going to benefit you. And Xena explained that perfectly. Like, again, I gave her a hypothetical where we could live in a world where we're in a literal paradise. No one ever suffers. We're constantly in a state of like pure bliss. She wouldn't want to live in that reality because she wants to experience meaning, and in which case she is bound to suffer. And then while suffering, she tries to run away from that suffering and again experience the benefit of life. But she's putting herself in this constant, like, it's like this wheel where I want to benefit from existence. The only way to benefit from existence is to have meaning. Meaning results in suffering, and I want to get rid of suffering so that I can benefit from existing. The only way to benefit from existence is to find meaning. I'm suffering now because I tried to pursue meaning, and now I want to get away from that suffering. And it's this constant cycle. Like, she literally spelled it out for you.
Okay, but I think what you're doing is like the same thing as what you're annoyed with. You're just in the opposite direction, right? You say that life doesn't have meaning, but you're offering up to people that life is chaos. You saying that people don't have a purpose. God is like, that shit's not real. You don't have a purpose. But then you offer them up. Your purpose should be to just do what makes you happy. To
No, I'm not
satiate
saying
your
that's your
desires.
purpose.
No, but I'm saying that is what you were offering.
No,
You're
it's
offering
not.
the meaning of chaos, and that your purpose should be to just be
No.
happy.
So what proposition did I make that suggested there is a purpose?
You didn't use the word purpose, but when you say that you should do what benefits you, we're saying the same things, but with different
So
words or phrases.
the only thing I said is the only reason I can think of for why we choose to exist is because we get a benefit from existing. You can do whatever the fuck you want. If you want to, like, I don't know, stab your own eyeballs out, you can do that. But what I'm telling you is that's probably not going to be beneficial to you. So how am I
Then
making
how
a
do you
proposition that,
How do
like,
you disagree with what Xena wants to do, which is, she's suffering. She would like to sulk in it, live in that for a while, and
look,
she thinks that she'll grow from that. That's
I
her
think you're
desire of-
conflating two
of
different
going through.
terms. You're
Right?
you're conflating ought terms with descriptive terms. I'm giving you I'm giving you a description that we benefit from existing if certain conditions are met. I'm not
Well, we can't know
saying
that.
that we should live in that kind of way. That's a different kind of claim. I mean, you have a choice. You could choose to suffer. You could choose to not suffer. That's what I'm spelling out. And I think most people are going to choose to not suffer and benefit from existing. But it's a very different thing to say you should not suffer.
Okay, in my mind, the way that I'm receiving is that whenever you say benefit from existing, I think that you're giving people the purpose of pursuing pleasure. And
Where
that is a
where
meaning
does
of some
purpose
people's life
Modern
to
day
just
debate did a
feel pleasure, right?
where in my set of propositions am I making an ought statement that you should do X?
If you're not saying that now, then I'll just accept that you're not saying that.
Right. So back to what you were saying earlier, like about losing a loved one. So if there are two people who are in the exact same circumstance, they lost a spouse, they died. Say they died horribly of cancer. The one person's a nihilist, and they know this is something that I have no control over. There's no meaning behind any of this. There's no God that orchestrated this plan. This is just something that happens that I have no control over. There's no meaning behind any of this, and it's something that just happens. Versus someone who thinks there's some kind of meaning behind this. God orchestrated this plan, and it's leading towards, I don't know, something that's meaningful. How does the nihilist fare worse than the person who believes in God?
I don't know if I would judge them better or worse. I'm not even sure if I can say which one's easier or harder to deal with, but I still do believe and see it as a cope.
Well, it's not a cope. If it's
nihilist
descriptively
can
true, it's not a cope.
I have no reason to feel confident that there's no purpose or like meaning.
Okay, if we're going to disagree that it's not descriptively true, then can you prove meaning? Like, by the way, we can assume God. Wait.
Disprove it.
We can assume God exists in this narrative. We can assume there's a God that exists. I just want you to make an argument proving meaning.
I'm of the position that I do not know. I cannot know. Well, if I can know,
What do you? Well,
it
this
hasn't been
isn't.
revealed to me yet or anything.
Well, if you're going to say what I'm saying is descriptively untrue, then prove it.
I don't think I'm saying it's descriptively untrue. I'm saying I view it the same as like nihilism. I view it as giving meaning and purpose in life to people who basically just would like to not
Nihilism
think
is
of
the
a
rejection
God
of meaning and
or a
purpose,
plan.
so that's an oxymoron. So no, nihilism doesn't give anybody a purpose. It's the rejection of meaning and purpose. So that's oxymoron. That's an oxymoronic statement. And if you're going to disagree with
do
me and say what
agree.
I'm saying is descriptively untrue, then make an argument for it.
I agree that you are saying you are rejecting meaning and purpose. I think that your negative meaning and negative purpose still amounts to a meaning and purpose. You've just put like a
Yeah, so can
negative
you make an argument
attribute
for
in
that?
front of them. That is my argument. Is that I do not
That's
see a
not an
difference
argument, that's a
between
claim.
you and
I'd like to
people
hear an
who are
argument.
religious.
An argument has a set of premises that lead to a conclusion. So what's the argument that nihilism gives somebody a purpose? Like, by the way, nihilism is just a descriptive claim.
Okay.
Just to be clear, Cherry, he's saying that he's not saying humans seek benefit or seek pleasure. Or sorry, he's not saying that you should seek benefit or seek pleasure. He's saying humans do that naturally. So he's saying it's a description. It's not something he's recommending. There's no ought.
If they do it naturally, isn't that their purpose?
No.
I just want to ask a question because it's like, why would if there's not some form of meaning that already like exists in like a conscious wavelength or whatever the fuck, if there's not meaning already for people to seek that or want that, like why would like how does it just become a thing? Like why is that something people search for or want if it wasn't already like something that's like they're naturally inclined to like feel or whatever?
Well, like I said before, we're products of evolution, and there is such a thing. There is such a thing as antagonistic pleiotropy. So things that are beneficial for survival earlier in life may be antagonistic to survival later in life. So if we're wired to believe that there's a purpose behind something, or we have to seek certain things, that may increase our survivability in the short term when we're younger, when we're trying to get as wealthy and powerful as possible. But later in life, when we obtain that wealth, we may be more prone to depression, anxiety, stress, and suicide, which are all things that can shorten your life expectancy. But that doesn't mean, like again, this is a descriptive claim. There either is meaning or there isn't. The claim that nihilists are making is that there is no meaning. Meaning is something that's purely generated by your mind. There's no objective truth behind meaning. And if you're going to claim there's an objective truth behind meaning, then make an argument for it.
Okay, I'm using meaning and purpose to be different things here. So I feel like we have agreed meaning is like given to you. It's learned, right? Religious people will learn about through God or whatever.
So you believe it's subjective?
Yeah.
Okay, then what's the disagreement here?
It's that nihilism is giving people a meaning by saying there is no meaning or that life is chaos. And you are also, through that, people get to find a purpose, which is to pursue their pleasures. I'm just saying I don't see a difference between what you offer, Xena, and like what religion offers, Xena.
Yeah, so again, the claim I am making is that the only reason I can figure for why we continue to choose to exist is that we want to benefit from existing. That's the only thing that I can personally figure. And from when I hear you all give reasons for like why you continue to exist, it seems that you all want to benefit from existing. So I think that may be a descriptive truth about the human condition, that we want to continue to benefit from existing. And I'm just merely stating that rejection of meaning seems to produce those outcomes, that we benefit from existing more if we reject the idea of meaning.
I understand. Okay.
Right.
I feel like there are different phrasings of this. Like I think I mean, the way I think of this is just expectations. Like what expectations you have for yourself, and are they reasonable? And like, when do you feel content? Like a lot of people, you're just saying people don't feel content. They essentially never feel content, and they set up expectations for themselves. And as soon as they hit those, they set up new expectations. And falling out of that wheel of like consistently hitting and then resetting expectations is like your key to happiness. That you weren't hitting your expectations, or that's why I was going to ask you when you came back, like, how was applying meaning to old events in your life? How was that making you depressed? Like, was it that you You wanted apologies from these people who mistreated you. You wanted like revenge. You wanted that they didn't fit with like the story you were trying to tell about your life. Like, what was making you depressed about the previous events in your life?
Yeah, so there's a variety of reasons. So one example that I gave earlier was like this hedonic treadmill. There like we pursue something that we think is meaningful, that is going to give us happiness. So like say a higher job position, more money. Then when you get there, well, are you happy now? Where did that happiness, where does happiness get generated from? It's clearly not from being in a particular circumstance where you have the things that you're trying to obtain. It's just purely from a mindset of being happy.
Sure.
If
that's
happiness
not true.
was merely generated from being in a set of circumstances where you get the things you want, rich people or people who got the things that they were seeking, they would all be happy. They wouldn't be miserable. So it is purely just a mindset. This idea where we think certain things are meaningful or we think we have to have certain things, that is something that generates suffering and misery and anxiety and depression. And that was something that I had a problem with. I would constantly try to make more money, get more motorcycles. Like these are things that I enjoy. And it is true that if you have more money, more things, there are more opportunities in which you can benefit from it. But happiness is something that is just generated by your mind. It's just a mindset. There's no external set of circumstances where you can just become happy. So that was the root of my depression. On top of that, the type of mindset I had towards people who like abused me, I had this very strong sense of justice where this shouldn't have happened. They wronged me. And when I was on that mushroom trip, I just realized no one can hurt you unless you allow them to. I visualized this. I visualized myself as a ripple in the water that was created by a raindrop. And there were it was raining, and there were many raindrops that were creating all of these ripples in the water. And I was one of these ripples getting thrashed around by all of these other ripples. And I could just be a rock. If I reject meaning and purpose and I just see life as a stupid joke, no matter what anyone says to me, no matter what anybody does to me, it can't affect my mind in such a way that I can't be happy and I have to suffer. Like again, the analogy I used.
To it, right?
Sorry?
I think you're describing stoicism, like being unbothered.
There's a lot of overlap between nihilism and other philosophical beliefs like stoicism and like Buddhism. Mm-hmm. There's quite a bit of overlap. But it does tie back to nihilism. I used the example of we could watch r/freakout on Reddit and watch people freaking out in public, getting mad, starting fights, and we can all laugh at it because we know it's stupid. There's no reason anybody has to act this way or react this way. But when it happens to us, if somebody cuts us off in traffic, if some fucking Karen at the grocery store does something stupid, like we freak out, we get mad when we don't have to. None of these ripples need to affect us. It's all a choice we make internally. And this rejection of meaning, of purpose, it allows you to see the truth that none of it matters. And if none of it matters, then you can actually make the choice and recognize if it doesn't matter, why do I choose to exist in the first place? It's so that I can benefit from existing. Do I benefit from existing when I get angry, when I get frustrated, when I freak out at stupid Karens or idiots on the road who, cut me off? So that's the point I'm trying to make. If you realize nothing matters, you can just choose to benefit from existing. And you don't have to react in a certain way. You don't have to feel a certain way. You can choose how you feel about any situation, and you can benefit from just existing, even when stupid shit happens to you. Even if somebody runs you off the road because they're a fucking idiot and they weren't checking their mirrors, you can still choose to benefit from existing, because even if your car gets wrecked, even if you break a leg, you can appreciate just existing.
Do you like reading? Are you Is it if I asked if you read a book or to recommend one?
I'm most interested in the human condition, and I think fiction, fictional stories really
No, it's not.
explore
It's not
the
gonna be
human.
fiction. It's not.
Sorry?
Oh wait, yeah. No,
Yeah, so
okay.
so I think fiction. So I think fiction is, the type of it's the type of category that really we're all trying to solve the human condition and understand it.
Yeah.
And I think that's
some of the
what.
stuff that you've mentioned. It just brings me to this book I read. I'm just trying to see if you've read it. Flow, which is like the psychology of optimal experience. Yes. or no?
I've never heard of that book.
All right, I want to DM it to you because
Sure.
I feel like you've said a lot of stuff in this book, and I would challenge you to read this and to have maybe a different idea of like what happiness is, in comparison to like how somebody like lives or plans out or like looks at their trajectory of life.
Well, I need a moment because actually I gotta. Are we still talking about nihilism?
Yeah,
you guys
basically.
can go back to it. I'm gonna recommend this book. We can talk from there another time.
Yeah, just send me a DM.
No, like this is still about nihilism, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, what was the meaning behind this conversation? Like,
There was
is
no
the goal
meaning.
to? I mean, like, is the goal to maybe convince me that nihilism is the way about things, or just to tell me what nihilism is, or just to have a discussion? Like,
So
I'm actually asking a general question.
so
Like, I'm just generally asking.
I have cured my depression from discovering nihilism, and again, the only reason I can think of for why I would continue to exist is to benefit from existing. And there are social benefits as well that we can all get from living in a better society where everybody's more well-adjusted, not angry, not causing problems. That also personally benefits me, and it benefits everybody else if we can all be better people. And I am just giving you a philosophy that may lead to that kind of goal where we can benefit from existing.
Interesting.
Do you
Interesting.
like
So maybe
Xena?
it's
I'm
because
just
it
wondering.
cured your depression, right? Like, so you're that's like the basis of this is it cured your depression. But then somebody could come and tell me, I actually do have a friend whose depression was cured because she did ketamine and she was severely depressed, and like they have ketamine labs and everything like that. So like, would she be right to come and tell me, do ketamine, that's going to solve your problems, it cured my depression? Like, I feel like different methods work for different people.
So medically speaking, ketamine treatments put depression in remission, and it's not necessarily going to be a lifelong sort of change. There's evidence that it changes neurotransmitters, and some of these neurotransmitters may be related to depression. I'm of the opinion that depression isn't necessarily just it's a circumstance of your brain chemistry and the amount of neurotransmitters you have. It is a state of mind, and your state of mind isn't necessarily tied to your brain chemistry. Your brain chemistry can be affected by your state of mind, and your brain chemistry can affect your state of mind. So it can happen in either direction. And I've had treatment-resistant depression for a long time. I've done psychedelic drugs before. I've never done ketamine specifically, and it never cured my depression. It put it in remission. Same with different antidepressant drugs. I've been on NDRIs, NRIs, SSRIs, and some of them put my depression in remission. Some of them improved my depression, but didn't completely eliminate it. It's only until now where I discovered nihilism that I realized, again, everything is stupid. There's no purpose behind anything. If there's no purpose behind anything, why am I continuing to exist? The only reason I could figure is to benefit from existing. It's all a mindset. Happiness is within you. Anger is within you. All of these emotions are within you, and you can just choose to be happy, and you can reject anger. You can reject sadness. You can reject suffering.
I mean, you basically hit the you said, if nothing matters, why do I continue to exist? I mean, that sounds like I might as well jump, honestly. That's what that sounds
Well,
like.
no,
If there's no meaning
because
to anything, then why the fuck am I here? What is the purpose? The purpose of living is to find meaning in everything and to have these things and experience life as a human. But if there's no meaning to it,
no, you're not understanding. Just because there's no meaning behind existence, it doesn't mean you can't benefit from it. I'm sure you've had
Yeah, but just because
relationships.
there's no meaning behind my experiments doesn't mean I'm not going to benefit from that as well. You get what I'm saying? Or my suffering, or even things that make me happy. There's no proof that I won't benefit from that. You get what I'm saying? I
So
think the same rules
you
apply.
can benefit from, say, getting the pain that is received from putting your hand in boiling water. Because if you didn't feel that pain, you'd keep your hand in the boiling water, and your hand would eventually die and rot off, and you'd be left without a hand. I'm not saying that there isn't a benefit to some of the physiological responses we have to stimuli, like pain. Nihilism isn't an end of pain. It's an end of suffering, which is very distinct. The suffering that's generated within your mind. We can benefit from pain, physical pain, clearly.
you said
But
you
I
had
don't see
went
how
through
we benefit from
depression.
suffering.
You said you suffered from depression when you were 5, and that's what first brought you to nihilism?
No, I'm saying sorry, the thing that brought me to nihilism was just the truth. I just think it's descriptively true. No one's been able to make an argument for meaning, like sorry. No one's been able to make an argument for the case that meaning is objectively true. So that's why I became a nihilist. But I internalized nihilism recently from a mushroom trip I had, I think about 2.5, 3 months ago. It's kind of like when somebody tells you about self-love for the first time, and it can make sense to you that you need to love yourself, but internalizing the message is very different.
If I remember correctly, you came to this because of you did shrooms, right? It was a shroom trip.
So I believed in nihilism initially because, again, it seemed objectively true. It's just descriptively true. No one's been able to make an argument for meaning. So I was a nihilist before this mushroom trip. I just internalized the message and fully understood it after this mushroom trip.
Wait, has anybody ever tried to make an argument for objective meaning?
Wait, I need.
Oh
an
yeah,
answer.
Christians, especially presuppositionalists. do this all the
Religious
time.
people would definitely.
religious
be doing
people.
that. Absolutely, yeah. Religious
One
people
moment.
do that all the time. So I
Is
get
the
that what you're saying
Marty-
there.
Is the Marty dude in your chat? Is that the one who versed Rem? Is that guy?
No.
Ugh, fine. I was looking forward. Sorry, Marty. It's fine that it's you, but I'm disappointed.
Or at least I'm fairly confident it's not. Who argued with Rem on Destiny's stream? That's what he's asking. That's what Cherry's asking.
Yeah, because then I would have tapped in a pro, but it's just chat, Marty. Anyway, you keep going. Sorry for the.
I technically have Rem on my friends list, I think.
But like Xena, were you following what I was saying this whole time and understanding?
I am following. Yes, I am following. I'm just also like is the point like you're basically trying to. I don't want to say trying to convince me or whatever, but you're like suggesting nihilism is like the cure for my depression, or that's like the route in which I should go, and you're basically trying to
I think
list
it
like
may.
the benefits and things like that.
So I don't have the data to support this, but it may be the cure for all depression. It could possibly be. But I think for most people, they would at least benefit from nihilism. I think many, many, many cases of depression, even people who aren't suffering from depression, but are just suffering, can benefit from nihilism.
Fucking shit.
Because again, if you reject meaning, if you realize everything is fucking stupid and pointless, if somebody just fucks with you, like just being an annoying asshole, or if somebody like close to you dies, or if a family member is annoying, if you see all of this as pointless and stupid, how is it going to affect you? If it doesn't matter to you, how is it going to affect you?
It generally prevents you from like feeling positivity, joy.
That's not true.
Stuff like that.
Quite the opposite. If the only reason I can figure for why I am existing is to benefit from existing, it allows me to extract as much joy and happiness from any particular situation as possible. So I can reject all of the negative feelings that I might have felt otherwise from having family members that are kind of annoying, and I can see all of the benefits that I get from having that relationship. Like, okay, well, it's company. I can have some positive, conversations with them. They are a bit of a support network, so maybe if I am in need of money or a place to stay, burning this bridge with them is not necessarily the best idea. I can laugh, we can talk about movies and shit, things that I'm interested in. If you're a nihilist, you can just extract the most amount of benefit from any given situation as you can, and you can just reject all of the negatives and not have any of it affect you. Like, again, if everything is
I want to
pointless...
ask you, though, really quickly,
Yeah.
just let me hop in right there and just ask you now. So if you reject all the negatives, not unlike your hypothetical with the hand in boiling water, how do you know you're not boiling your hand off in any given situation? If you're not feeling the negatives, because I feel like if you can't have just nihilism is not perfect mastery over your emotions to only accept the positive things and reject all the negative things. Like, I feel like it can't be that. You either have to reject almost everything, or you definitely couldn't have the fine-grained idea of like, this thing is a negative thing I need to pay attention to, and this thing's a negative thing that I need to ignore, right? So like, how are you making sure you're not getting taken advantage of or hurt in these relationships? Like not getting, having long-term negative consequences from these relationships.
Okay,
If you
well,
learn from the negatives aren't
yeah,
there.
so an obvious thing is you're still going to feel physical pain. So if you have somebody who's, like, say, physically abusive, you can know with certainty that you probably shouldn't be around that person because you are not benefiting from that relationship. And it doesn't mean you can't observe negatives. So say if somebody's being manipulative and trying to, I don't know, make you put all the work into a relationship. So you're the one who's supposed to cook and clean. You're the one who has to work and pay the bills. They sit around and do nothing. I mean, I don't think you have to suffer and, catastrophize over these sorts of situations and be miserable to see.
Okay, I was asking my chat because I wanted to make sure I was correct. I was asking my chat. I don't want to cut you off, but I wanted to make sure because kind of what you're talking about sounds more apathetic. And like I was asking my chat if it sounded more like you're kind of explaining that versus nihilism, because it just seems more like lack of giving interest until you choose to.
No, it's not apathy. Again, everything has no meaning. There's no purpose behind anything. That is just a descriptive fact. There is no purpose, and nobody can make any argument for there being purpose or meaning. If that's the
Like
case,
the lack
Can't
of
necessarily
purpose.
make an argument that there is no purpose either.
okay, make an
Especially if
argument
someone else
for
believes that.
it. Okay, we can create purpose within our own minds. Okay, I'm going to the gym so I can look good, so I can get laid, so that I can have a pretty girlfriend, so I can have a family, have kids. You can create these sorts of, things in your own mind. I want somebody to make an argument for purpose or meaning to be an objective truth. There's some sort of objective meaning or objective purpose in the universe. Make that argument. Until you make that argument, why would I believe in something called purpose or meaning?
Well, I think those are two different things. So that's where
You could argue they're two different things, but I asked you to define either one, so it doesn't really matter, and there's clearly overlap.
Yo, Panama, if you're still in my chat, can you come over and do my laundry for me, please? I'll pay you.
So again, it's just descriptively true. There's no meaning behind anything. Everything is meaningless. If everything is meaningless, why do we choose to exist? The only thing I can figure is for us to benefit from existing. And I think if you have a reasonable mind, you can see there's certain relationships that benefit you, certain ones that don't. There's certain things you can do that benefit you. There's certain things that don't. And clearly certain mindsets.
People usually have there's this idea of a meaning in life, and that's where they find their purpose, or they might change their purpose, but that's where their purpose is coming from. If you have no meaning in life, why are you looking for a purpose? Why are you looking for the best move to do from thereof if there's no meaning?
Well, I just told you I can determine that there's a benefit from existing. If there's a benefit from existing, I will do things that benefit me.
How do you know that that's a benefit?
How do I know if something's a benefit to me?
Yeah.
Well, you feel
Because
it.
like people who are depressed, they feel better if they if they overeat, or some people think that it feels better if they
That is a benefit.
self-harm, and
They are
but you
extracting
would
a benefit
be
from that.
You would be able to look at that and see that.
Look,
as
there are
behavior that's
benefits.
actually hurting
So
them.
look, there are benefits to almost everything. There's benefits to smoking cigarettes. Nicotine prevents against Parkinson's disease. It helps with ADHD. It is a very powerful antidepressant. It's an appetite suppressant, so it can help with weight control. And there are downsides. It increases the risk of lung cancer. It increases the risk of multiple types of cancer. It increases the risk of heart disease, diabetes, dementia. So you can look at the risk benefit of anything and make your own determination of what benefits you want and what risks you're willing to bear. There's benefits and risks to everything. Walking outside, you could get run over by a car. You could be exposed to UV radiation, which is cancer-causing. That doesn't mean you're going to sit indoors and literally do nothing all day because that gives you the least amount of risk. There's a risk to everything, and there's a benefit to almost everything. So you can weigh out your own risk-benefit analysis. Like, I ride a motorcycle. A lot of people would choose not to ride a motorcycle because they think the risk of crashing and dying is too high. But I just have a different risk-benefit analysis to a lot of people. But again, that's not an argument against nihilism. Everybody's going to have their own risk-benefit analysis. And again, you can... It might actually help you have a better risk-benefit analysis where you might actually try to extract more benefit from life. If you're not worried about things like dying anymore, there are people who are so afraid of dying that they become agoraphobic and they stay inside. They'll never leave their house because they're terrified of the outside world, but they're missing out on all the benefits they could receive on going outside. So
there was a man outside the F train. What benefited him in the moment was peeing right there and then in public and on a bench that really people should be allowed to sit on, and maybe in 10 minutes no one will know that there's piss on there and they'll still sit on it. Do you not see a negative to people doing what feels right for them in the moment?
yeah, there could be. Like, again, I don't know how this is an argument against nihilism.
Well, because you're telling everyone should do what benefits them in the moment, and I imagine
That's
you
not what
don't
I'm
want
saying.
to live in a world with pure chaos where
That
people
is
are
not what I'm saying.
pissing whenever they want to.
What proposition did I make where I suggested everybody
that's
should
what you
do
suggested
whatever
to
they can
Xena.
in the moment?
You suggested to Xena that she should do what benefits her, that there's no purpose, no meaning in life, and so she should optimize by
I didn't
doing-
say
by
you
finding
should.
benefit
I
in-
said
Okay.
the only thing I can think of, the only reason I can think of for why we continue to exist is to benefit off of existing.
Okay, but you are
You can
recommending
make your
to
own
everybody that they
risk-
think
you-
this way, right? You recommend to people to be nihilistic, correct?
Right?
So that there's a recommendation there, and if people are like you and they try to see what's in it for them out of nihilism, that's the conclusion that they're going to come to. No?
As it's beneficial. So
Not all knowledge is power. So yeah, I mean, there could be people who read that kind of message and then, I don't know, torture and kill people. That's not what I'm telling them to do. I'm just telling you a descriptive truth about reality, that nothing matters. And
Now, I'm not accusing you of telling people to go out and do all of their sickest desires because nothing matters. But I'm asking if that's the logical conclusion that could happen, could occur.
It
if
could.
Your recommendation for nihilism is one that.
well,
everyone
it
will-
could, and a logical conclusion to telling somebody that God exists is they believe God is directly communicating them, and they have to murder certain people or torture certain people or rape kids because God commanded them to do that, which has happened.
I'm not religious either.
So the only thing I'm saying is nihilism is a descriptive truth. There is no meaning behind anything. There's no meaning in the universe. It's something that's entirely generated by your own mind. And the only thing I can figure, the only reason I can figure for why we continue to exist is to benefit from existing. So in every situation where you would otherwise suffer, get angry, get mad, have anxiety, you can reject those emotions because you recognize that none of this matters. You can extract all the benefit you can possibly get out of a situation and minimize all of the harms that you could possibly get out of a situation if you just reject meaning. It's not a solution to pain, but it is a solution to suffering, which is very distinct.
In my opinion, it causes just as much. It has the potential to cause just as much harm as religion.
Well, it's not a religion, so it...
No, I don't. That's why I said as religion. I'm not calling it a religion, but I'm putting it on
It's a
par
way of life,
of having the
which-
same potential harm.
Okay, do you have any kind of evidence to back this up with? Because, I mean, we've had...
The F train is
the
situation.
Okay,
on the
so
train
could
is
you show me,
my evidence
like, do you have
against
any
it.
evidence that this person who pissed on a subway bench was a nihilist? He probably wasn't. He was probably just some weird crack addict who didn't even know where he was and he just took a piss.
That doesn't
I
matter
don't
if
think
he's a
she said
nihilist
he
or
was a
not. If he's
nihilist.
doing
She was
what he
talking about
wants.
what was about beneficial to him. It was beneficial to him to relieve his bladder in that moment. That's what the example she was giving.
Yeah,
She
right.
was
And
saying-
if I pissed in public, I'd probably get arrested and I'd have like some sort of charge. I could even get like some sort of weird sexual charge where I can't be within certain feet of children or something. that wouldn't benefit me, and I'm not going to make that, you know, risk-benefit analysis where I'm just going to piss out in public. So nihilism doesn't resort to people just literally doing anything anytime they want. We're still going to make our own risk-benefit analyses. Like even terrorists, Muslim jihadist terrorists like Muhammad Hijab, these Muslim apologists you see on YouTube, they want to kill non-believers. They outright state it, that they are at war with you know, countries like the UK. They want to kill non-believers. They want to create a worldwide caliphate. But they don't just go out in public and start stabbing people or planting bombs because they know in their long-term goal, it's not going to be productive. And the long-term goal that I have, where I want to benefit from existing, I'm not going to piss out in public.
I completely understand what you're saying, and that's why I look at nihilism in the same regard that I look at religion, because every person who believes in God or gods, whatever religion they believe in, they are not all violent. They are not all seeking to do like a destructive end of the world, hoping for revelations. You know, some people are religious in the hopes to be like one with the world, the universe, and be good to other humans. Right? That's what they find meaning for in religion. I think that your look into nihilism, because maybe you can see the positive sides of it. I think you are negating all of the negative aspects that would come alongside if a majority of people were nihilistic.
Name one.
Pissing on the F train freely.
Can you provide any evidence that nihilism makes somebody piss on an F train?
If somebody wants to do what they want in the moment, it benefits
That's not
them.
what nihilism
There's
is.
There's no meaning in life. Who's gonna do anything to them? How many cops are there gonna be when really there's no fucking meaning in life? Why am I trying to work a 9 to 5? I can just go steal shit.
People do that already.
It's like it's a
That's
snowball
not,
into chaos.
Okay, people do that already, and they're not nihilist. Most criminals are religious. If you go to any prison, atheists make up less than 2% of the prison population. So there are plenty of people who believe in a God, who believe in meaning, who are committing some of the most horrible fucking crimes you can imagine. So I don't know.
I want to interject on that only because a lot of people that go to prison only are religious because they're in prison, and when they get out, they're back to even being atheist.
Yeah, so I have not seen any evidence whatsoever that most people were atheists
though,
before.
Of course, like everybody.
Yeah, I've heard that.
I met in prison, like throughout my prison experience, the 2 years that I went through 3 different prisons, everybody that would tell me when they were religious or anything like that, they usually told me that prison is what turned them to God. Like that's what made them like. Obviously, this is anecdotal, so like, but I'm just saying.
Well, the problem is they believed in God before they went
true.
to prison. They just became more religious once they were in prison. But I haven't actually seen any data suggesting that people were atheists before they were imprisoned, and then they became like Christian or Muslim or something once they were in prison. So they already believed in God. And again, very few of, I would say probably close to zero, if not absolute zero, people who are imprisoned right now are nihilists. It's an extremely rare ideology. So again, if the worst crimes created throughout history, like, you know, Nazi Germany, Hitler, I believe, was a Roman Catholic when he first was creating the ideology of Nazism. If you read Mein Kampf, he talks about how Jesus guides him. He was very friendly with the Catholic Church when he was rising to power. Later on, when he took power, he didn't like Christianity because the lead figure in Christianity is Jesus, who is a Jew, and obviously Nazis hated Jews. He also didn't like the peace-loving aspect of Christianity, and he became enamored with Islam. And he actually talked to the Mufti in Palestine. He was talking about how he wished the German people would follow a religion like Islam. So, like, some of the worst monsters in history were religious. They clearly had this idea of meaning and purpose in their lives. I haven't seen these kinds of horrific atrocities committed by nihilists. So I don't know why you would assume nihilism would lead to absolute chaos when every totalitarian regime I've ever seen has had some sort of religious or ideological backing behind it. Like Chairman Mao, he banned religious practices, but he created communism as sort of the religion of the nation. There was clearly a message of meaning behind all of his speeches and his ideology. He absolutely wasn't a nihilist. And he may have killed as many as 100 million people.
So I'm not saying that any religious text is correct. I'm not saying that religion has not caused harm or that religion has not been like the cause of like a lot of destruction in the world. I'm not saying that, but just because
Well,
I can see
I would
key
like
points in
you.
nihilism
I
that
wouldn't
would
say
make
that
me
would
not
lead
feel
to
confident
chaos.
in it.
Well, look, how many people do you think have died as a result of, you know, all of these different religious and political ideologies? It's probably in the hundreds of millions. How many people do you think have died as a result of nihilism? Probably very, very few.
There's no way I could never just guess that. I couldn't
Well,
even
it's
feel
not a
confident
guess.
to guess that.
We can total the
You
amount
know
of
for
deaths that have
sure?
occurred due to Nazism. We can total the amount of deaths that have occurred due to communism. It's in the hundreds of millions. What are the number of deaths that have occurred due to nihilism? I'm sure there are some psychopathic serial killers who are nihilists.
How do I even know that some of the religious leaders were not nihilist, who were just opportunistic and took over a religious church and stuff like that, and then
Yeah, just looking to
havoc?
benefit.
Well, I don't know.
In
Like
fact,
they
you
tell
would, they
you
would
this.
almost have to not believe in the religion for sure, right?
Exactly.
Wouldn't they have to like not believe in the religion by virtue of like, yeah, going and ethnically cleansing a bunch of people? Like, I believe Christianity says all souls are created equal. So should they really have been doing crusades? Is that like actually something that makes sense in Christianity? I literally don't know.
Debatable whether or not Christianity suggests all souls are created equal when Christianity gives different rights to Israelites. But in any case, if somebody's telling you what they believe, I'm inclined to believe them.
I don't know. Why would I believe a nihilist?
Well,
They're going to do what they want, right?
well, look, you can do whatever you want. I'm just, I don't know why you wouldn't.
And that's not to say I don't believe you. That's not to
So,
say I don't
look,
believe you.
you
But if I'm
can-
just taking the
You can believe
ideology,
whatever stupid
philosophy.
bullshit you want. If you want to believe there's meaning to life, you can do that. If you want to believe something where you can't even make an argument in favor of your belief, you can do that. I don't know how that benefits you.
Listen, it benefits me greatly to not make claims I can't substantiate.
Well, you haven't substantiated the claim of meaning.
I think we both agreed that. I said when you grow up, meaning is like given to you. It's learned. Your surroundings affect it.
Yeah, and people also
Yeah.
believe in Santa Claus. They also believe
changes
in
in
Jesus. They believe in a lot of
Huge
stupid shit.
life-altering events will maybe affect meaning to you, right? It's not automatically given to you at birth. It can change over time. Some people go from non-religious to religious. Some people are born into religion and then they leave the church, leave the ideology. I'm not sure what I have not qualified to explain my skepticism.
Well, look, it sounds like you agree with me. If you agree, there's no objective truth behind meaning. Meaning is something that's created entirely by the mind. Why would you believe in meaning if you know it's not true? It's something that's purely created by your mind. And if all of these things are created by your mind,
it's a natural occurrence. I think it's a natural occurrence to seek meaning or to believe in meaning, and I believe your choice of nihilism.
Well, it's a natural occurrence to want to murder other people. It's a natural occurrence to want to commit rape. It's a natural occurrence to want to commit tribal genocide. That's probably why we've been doing it ever since we've become human, even before we were human.
True.
You can see chimpanzees committing tribal genocide. We've been doing this before we were even human. It's part of our species. But the point I'm making is we can rise above it. We aren't just a product of our biology. We can use our minds to overcome these biological circumstances that are generating suffering. And it
I would
seems to
argue
me
you overcome them by not doing them, but you still feel the urges.
I
Like
think
the urges are still there.
I think you can even eliminate some of these urges if you actually internalize the belief of nihilism. If you see it and feel it for yourself, I think these urges go away. But at the very least, you can control yourself.
From the summary of what you've said, and I'll like look more into nihilism. I was a little bit confused in the beginning. I think some people give the idea that maybe you were confused with stoicism because you are vegan, but I think I understand why you are still nihilist and vegan. But to me, nihilism is just kind of sweeping suffering up under the rug. Like I can just pretend suffering doesn't exist and then it doesn't affect me. I think the optimal look in life is to accept suffering and don't let it dictate the rest of your life.
Nihilism isn't a solution to pain, it's a solution to suffering. And suffering is something that's generated by the mind, and it's something you can eliminate from the rejection of meaning.
I take it suffering is unavoidable. So the idea that we can eliminate it is probably like the biggest red flag to me with nihilism.
Suffering is distinct from pain. There's no way to make it so you won't feel pain when stubbing your toe or putting your hand in boiling water, but suffering is the best way I can explain it. Suffering is the dread that is caused from feeling pain. Why am I in pain? Why is this happening to me? I might feel pain in the future. Why do I have to feel this pain in the future? Why is this happening to me? It shouldn't happen to me. It should be happening to somebody else. It's unfair. That's what suffering is, and with the rejection of meaning, you can get rid of that suffering. It's not a solution to pain. You're still going to feel pain, but you won't catastrophize and create that suffering from just feeling pain. And again, you also won't have to get upset when somebody cuts you off on the road. You won't have to get upset when a Karen fucking calls the cops on you and lies to the police about how you threatened her. You can just laugh at it and extract whatever benefit you can from the situation. You can laugh that there is a stupid Karen who is miserable and trying to make you miserable, and laugh at the fact that this is just an idiot who is in pain themselves and is trying to make other people feel in pain, but they are failing.
So there are a lot of people who like to look at suffering and they like to find meaning through suffering. And that maps onto some of the joys that people, I guess, report on life. Like you would say a rock climber is suffering when they're going up the mountain, right? But that suffering is to reach an end meet, right? To reach, like, getting to the top of the mountain, and that's euphoric. That suffering, they got through it for that end goal, not because they love leg on rock.
Well, this seems
like working out to do rock
this
climbing is
seems
also
like an
suffering, exercise,
equivocation.
period. It's just a different perspective on what suffering is.
Well, no, that sounds like an equivocation to me. That's not what I'd consider suffering. You can feel physical pain. You can go through, like, something that's hard. Doesn't mean you're suffering from it. Like, when I lift weights all the time, like, it's hard. I feel pain when weightlifting, but it's not suffering.
I just want to say, like, the conversation was good and all. I gotta go for a bit because I just want to do my cleanup shit or whatever. We've been kind of chatting for a bit. It's a good conversation. I love it. We can always touch back on this in a little bit later if people are still into it or whatever, but I kind of gotta...
Yeah, sure.
I gotta tap out and clean up.
No problem.
Thank you.
All right,
Bye, Cherry. Bye, jstlk. Thank you, everybody.
Bye. All right. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you were just wrapping up your differences with Cherry.
Yeah.
I have some people who want to argue with you from chat. I don't know if you want to take call-ins.
Yeah,
or
they
not,
can pop in and
I'll
argue.
tap out. I'll tap out for now because I think we just have, like, different perspectives, and maybe after you read that book, you can change my mind more effectively.
Yeah, just
I do
message
have
me
those
and
ideas.
I'll give it a read.
Yeah.
All right, I'll drag the first guy in. Pumpernickel, you're in, but I can't tell if you can even unmute your mic. You might not be able to.
I think I have.
Can. Yeah, there you go. Good.
Hey, how you guys doing? How you doing, vegan?
Good.
Yeah, just listening to some of your chat here. I can't understand how you can come to this acceptance of there being no objective meaning in, I guess, life, in existence, and then how that leads to you being immunized against depression. I don't get. I'm following your descriptions of things, but I'm not understanding the how. Can you explain a bit more?
How rejection of meaning leads to happiness.
Well, just not even happiness, just you not being depressed. Like, so say, for example, if I accept that life is ultimately meaningless at the very foundational level, and my partner or loved one, family member dies, how does that immunize me against grief or sadness?
Yeah, there's actually a popular atheist channel who's talked about this, that once he became atheist, he realized that there's, like, no meaning behind anything, life is pointless, and that actually caused him to be depressed. I think it can cause depression if you still have this need for things to have meaning. If you reject meaning, though, if you get rid of that weird emotional need to have meaning, things have to have meaning or else how can I enjoy anything? If you reject that meaning and actually internalize nihilism, again, you're left with this choice. You can either look at things with a glass half full or glass half empty mindset, and the only reason I can come to for why you would continue to choose to exist is to get the benefit off of existing. So, it's I think the people who do become miserable from, you know, discovering there is no meaning to life, they haven't actually internalized nihilism. They're still looking for meaning in a meaningless universe, and they're getting like depressed that they can't find it. If you internalize that message and realize there is no meaning, the only thing you're left with is, you know, either killing yourself or just recognizing that I can benefit from existing. And it's a choice. Like all these things, like all these emotions, they're inside you. They're not external. Happiness is something that's just generated by your mind, not by any external circumstances. Same with anger, same with anxiety, same with depression. All of these emotions are just generated by your mind, and you can just choose to feel them.
I guess that's where I'm struggling to understand. You seem to have this idea that the human mind, our emotional states, are driven manually. They're not like there's no involuntary action there. There's no automatic.
I think both. I think it's both.
Okay, but you're saying that by embracing and internalizing nihilism, whatever that means, would switch your brain over to like a fully manual setting, and you can just opt out of feeling a certain way about something if you want to.
Yes.
Do you have any evidence of this?
No, I can't show you any empirical evidence. I can only argue from my own experience.
It's not real then. Okay, so you've been doing this for 2 months?
Yeah.
What makes you think that it's cured your depression this time and you're not just in remission?
Yeah, it feels like I've obtained a certain knowledge from the mushroom trip as opposed to just a feel-good feeling. I've actually been to a psychiatrist where I was getting help for some of these things. She actually determined that I grew up in a really fucked up household, and I was never taught how to regulate my emotions like a normal person. So I would have an extremely unusual reaction to things where something made me sad. It would make me really fucking sad. If I'd get angry, I'd get really fucking angry and like punch holes in the wall.
Can I ask you a couple personal questions following that?
Well, sure. I'm almost done. After this mushroom trip, after realizing there is no meaning behind anything, I internalize that, and I actually see that whenever I see any situation. And I've realized all of these feelings are generated by my mind. I have had pretty much perfect emotional control. I just don't get angry like I used to. I don't get sad. I can just I just immediately think everything's pointless, and I can just be happy, and I've just been happy since then. So that's why I don't think it's just in remission because of some chemical change that's happened by my mind. I'm just in control of my mental state.
So what I wanted to ask you if you have any or have had any comorbidities. You mentioned that you've been depressed for a long time, and I wanted to ask if that was bipolar. And then like going on to your emotional dysregulation that you describe in childhood, I wonder if you have ADHD or something like that as well.
I've never been diagnosed. The psychiatrist said there's a very low possibility that I'm bipolar because I don't meet most of the criteria for it. She did diagnose me with antisocial personality disorder, however.
Okay. And anything like ADHD wise?
I could be.
Okay. So if you are, that by itself would explain the vast majority, almost the entirety of your emotional dysregulation problems. And, you know, there is no known cure for that except medications that can help normalize and balance your moods. And there's been some research into microdosing things like mushrooms and stuff like that to see if that has a beneficial effect. And the jury's still out on that. I think I have some huge questions regarding the fact that you had one trip and 2 months later, you feel like you still have this very clear-headed emotional state. I am seriously concerned that this is not going to sustain, and your depression is just going to creep back, and then you're going to realize that thinking nothing matters doesn't matter either, and you're going to be left with nothing to fall back on after that. How do you feel about that?
Time will tell, and I have said that it is entirely possible that my emotional state right now is just due to the chemical change from the mushroom trip. The reason I don't think it is because I've never had these effects after a mushroom trip where I've actually been able to regulate my emotions the way I have. And again, it feels like I've obtained a knowledge from it where I never had that before. I would just feel better after the mushroom trip. Whereas now, I'm able to make these logical observations that this doesn't matter, and it doesn't matter. I'm not going to get angry about it, and I'm just going to think positively and just look at things from, you know, a beneficial mindset. That's never happened before. I could be wrong.
How can you?
I
How
could be
can you
wrong,
just
but
do that? That's like, why couldn't you just do that before? And how come you can now just do that? You can just, oh, I'm just going to refuse to feel sad about this, to let that emotion in my brain.
I think I couldn't do it before because I didn't have the right mindset. And again, the knowledge that I obtained from the mushroom trip, just fully internalizing nihilism, realizing that nothing matters, it just allowed me to have that emotional regulation where it doesn't matter. And if it doesn't matter, why would I feel bad about any of this? The only way I should feel is happy.
What I'm getting at is when you were a kid and you had, say, for example, a very extreme sudden outburst of anger, maybe something someone said to you, a tone of voice, no rationality was going on there, right? It was just a stimulus response, right?
Yeah.
But what's giving you now the time to make these rationalizations? Because I would argue that it's not your thinking, it's not the methodology of like viewing the world through this nihilistic lens that's helping. It's more the fact that you're stopping, not reacting, and thinking about what you want to do going forward. Could you not make the same argument that using any philosophy, just taking time to stop, assess what reaction or approach is best suited for a situation, for optimal outcomes? Could you not just make an argument that any kind of worldview that allowed you to not be so reactive in your emotions would be just as beneficial?
It could be, but that still overlaps with nihilism. I've been told this when I was again, I've been told this when I was a kid. You know, I almost choked a kid until he was unconscious because he stole my gum. And my parents said, look, it doesn't matter. Why are you reacting to that sort of way? It's just a piece of gum. It's the same message. Like, it doesn't matter. It's just that anytime somebody tells you that, why are you reacting to that way when that sort of thing doesn't matter? Every time, you get taught about, you know, this emotional regulation shit, you're told it doesn't matter. Like, you should look at things in a positive mindset, glass half full. Like, take a minute to, realize in the grand scheme of things, you shouldn't really react this way because all of these little things don't matter. Like, it's the same message. So, it still overlaps with nihilism.
Do you think that worked for you back then? Just being told, the gum didn't matter? Why did you choke the kid?
Well, the reason it didn't work was because I didn't internalize the message. I was told that, it made logical sense, but I just didn't internalize it and feel it and see it.
Do you think that you reacted the way that you did because you stopped and you made an assessment that it really did matter and that you wanted to do this thing to that kid? Or did you just react without thinking?
No. I thought that, I thought that it mattered that he fucked with me. I thought it mattered that somebody stole something from me. And I reacted in that way because I thought it mattered. I also almost killed a kid in grade 4. And I planned it out. There was this kid who was fucking bullying me. He was, and it wasn't like him beating me up. He was a scrawny little shit. He would steal pencils and crap from me. And then when I'd tell the teacher, I think she was racist. I'm half black. And the stupid skinny white kid, she'd always pick his side and say, oh, Richard, give him back his pencil. That's not even yours. When he was the one who stole from me. Well, one day, for whatever fucking reason, she made me and that kid go down to the principal's office to pick up some papers. And I was thinking on the way to that principal's office, how can I kill him? And there's this 3-story stairwell that I was going to throw him off of to kill him. And I grabbed him by the throat. I leaned him over the fucking railing and he was pleading for his life and I was going to kill him. The only reason I didn't was because I figured there's no way I could talk myself out of it where I could play it off as some sort of accident. Because I knew you could legally get charged as an adult, even though you're a minor, for murder in specific circumstances. So I chose not to kill him in that moment just because I figured I could actually go to jail for it or something. But no, a lot of these things, I would think about it and it wasn't just an emotional reaction.
Okay, do you think that the anger you were feeling inhibits your other emotions or stops you from being able to fully...
Well, yeah, it's known that anger does temporarily reduce your IQ, and it does prevent executive function.
So what I'm saying is, I agree with you. That's why I'm going with the question. So what I'm saying is, you didn't make a choice to be angry, right? The anger just came, and then everything afterwards, the premeditation, the imagining throwing him over the rails, that was secondary to the initial anger, right?
Yeah. So to some extent, yeah.
Right. So how can you now just choose not to be angry, just straight away, like without even having that first step, that on the cascade of dominoes leading to
So
some kind of destructive outburst?
it's just always on the forefront of my mind now that nothing matters. I'm not going to say that I never have ups and downs with my emotions. Like, yeah, I can still get a bit of anger, but it's just always on the forefront of my mind that like nothing matters, and I can spot it when it happens, and it just goes away.
Do you think every negative emotion is something you want to disregard? So, say for example, a pet died of yours. Would you want to just be, oh, nothing matters, so I'm just going to choose not to be sad?
Yeah.
Or would you want to embrace that sadness and accept it for what it is, and maybe think a little about why you're sad?
If a pet of mine died, I probably would feel a bit of grief, but again, it doesn't matter. I'm not saying that I'm going to have a perfect emotional state. And by perfect emotional state, like just a constant state of happiness and bliss. I don't know if something like that's possible. But I can absolutely mitigate those feelings by, again, nihilism, just internalizing that message that it doesn't matter. And I think it would be more beneficial for us to not grieve.
So if the death of a pet doesn't matter with this worldview, what value does the life of the pet have?
Well, the value the pet has is them being around is beneficial for all of us. They can enrich our lives, make us feel happy. We can love each other, play with each other,
But only
and we
if we
can
choose to,
all
right?
benefit from that.
Only if we choose to, right? Like with the nihilism, right? You can just choose not to be sad, and you can choose to be happy or not be happy, I assume, right?
Yeah.
So you're making the decision for the pet's life to have a value by choosing to be happy, but it doesn't have an objective value because you could just as well choose to not care at all.
Right.
So there's no objective value there.
Yeah.
At all. So it's entirely subjective.
Yeah, correct.
So the cat's meaning is a subjective meaning, right?
Yep.
In this situation. All life is meaningless. Everything that you want to do or the benefit you look for is all subjective.
That is correct.
Okay? So,
well, no,
what
benefit isn't necessarily subjective.
Well,
some of
true,
it maybe.
Like a kid doesn't want to eat its broccoli. Just a subjective judgment on the benefit that kid's going to experience when he puts that broccoli in his mouth. But being a parent, I might be like, no, you kid, you got to eat your broccoli.
Well,
right?
So the benefit would be like in terms of long-term health. You could say the taste is a negative, but the there are some descriptive things you could say about broccoli that are objectively beneficial.
Right, but for the kid's point of view, who's refusing to eat it, he's not doing a cost-benefit analysis like that because he doesn't have all the information. He doesn't want to know all the information. Right. So how do you filter this nihilism through all the personal biases that people have in their lives? How could none of this is universally applicable to anyone else outside of your own skull?
I wouldn't say none of it.
Well, if you are saying that,
so like a cost-benefit analysis. It would be subjective to the person. So like if you want to choose to ride a motorcycle, well, motorcycles are fun, but you could like die in a horrible crash. That sort of cost benefit analysis would be subjective to the person. But the general idea of, just looking at everything as it is, that it is all meaningless. And you can make make this analysis that if I'm going to continue to exist, I may as well benefit from existing. And again, laugh at things that are just stupid, like somebody cutting you off on the road. I think that something like that is universally applicable.
Okay, do you think this is like a particularly profound or novel revelation?
No, many like again, these ideas are literally ancient.
No, I don't mean just as the idea. I mean like just living that way as well. So like, for me, for example, I've always believed that that's the case as a default, that nothing ultimately matters. But I still try to find a meaning in things because it makes life a little bit more fun. But you're saying that because meaning itself has no like objective foundation, it only lends itself to like suffering or to negative outcomes in your mentals?
I only see it leading to negative outcomes. Again, the only reason we like try to seek meaning is to get a benefit out of existing. But meaning is this extra layer that I only see causing suffering.
Okay, but if there is a benefit though to the meaning, then is it not still valid?
Yeah, I mean, if you are going to try to seek things that are meaningful and you find a benefit from it, you can certainly get a benefit from meaning. But my position is that ultimately does lead to suffering. If you just reject the meaning and look for the benefit, you're just going to benefit.
Why does it lead to suffering for you? Is that because you have this belief that it will eventually be undermined, your search for meaning or your belief system or whatever? Like it's going to fail at some kind of life test eventually, so best not to believe in things to start with.
I see it like a carrot dangling in front of your head that you can never reach. People talk about, you know, these things that are very meaningful to them, like winning gold at the Olympics, and then when they get that, they're absolutely destroyed mentally, and they're fucking miserable. That seems to me to be a result of meaning. If you just take things for what they are, meaningless, but you try to seek things that benefit you, like winning gold at the Olympics, having a goal like winning gold at the Olympics, you can appreciate it for what it is. You can appreciate that, you know, you worked hard for it, that you got this money, you got this fame. It's you know, it's cool that you got this medal. Not many other people have it. But if you add meaning to this thing, well, now there's no meaning because you got it. It's gone. And people are just left with this kind of sadness and emptiness.
I don't think that's necessarily a universal experience of
no, it's not necessarily universal.
But do you not think you're just describing someone that's applying too much meaning or investing too much of their identity into
so certainly
an unhealthy fixation on a
certainly
outcome?
Yeah, certainly yes. You could say it's an overemphasis.
So could you not just say then, like, well, it's good to have meaning, but don't go crazy with it. Don't make it your core foundation of your identity, because, you know, if it gets undermined, you're going to be in a bad position.
You could say that, but again, I don't know how to give somebody advice on like what range of meaning they should go for. Like, yeah, don't make it a core foundation of your values, but make sure you have meaning, but not too much. Like it's since it doesn't exist in the first place, I don't know why I'd give that recommendation.
Why meaning doesn't exist in the first place?
Yeah, since it doesn't exist in the first place and it's just generated by your mind, I don't know why I'd give somebody that recommendation. I'd rather just tell them there is no meaning. Just, you know, seek things that benefit you, that you find joy from, and try to extract whatever joy you can from whatever situation you're in.
Okay, what if people do that through the meanings that they attach to certain things?
Well, again, I think you're going to end up in a situation where if you do get the thing that you think is meaningful, you're going to be left without meaning. And if you tie meaning to happiness, you're going to end up feeling sad and not feeling as much joy as you possibly can. And you're also going to be in a situation where if you do things that you see as unmeaningful, you're not going to be able to appreciate those moments as much as you otherwise would, because they're not meaningful. Like watching SpongeBob. Okay, well, it's not meaningful.
Well, I mean,
it's some goal of getting an Olympic medal, but
it can't be a negative, right? Because if meaning doesn't exist, then you can't have a negative value to it either.
Well, if you have the position that there is meaning, then you could assign a negative value to something that doesn't have meaning.
Right. Okay. So you're saying that meaning doesn't exist, so therefore you can't have a negative or positive reaction to meaning, right? Like if you're
that
nihilistic,
would only be if you're a nihilist.
Yeah. Okay. So why is it important to you for meaning to be objectively real, whatever that means, for you to like accept it as a thing that exists, to take it into your thinking and your calculations on how to behave?
I don't see myself benefiting from something that isn't real.
Okay.
You know, I could believe in Santa Claus. I don't see myself really benefiting from the belief of Santa Claus.
What's the I mean, okay, I'm not going to ask what the negative is. That's great. Why is meaning comparable to belief in like a mythology or something, like a belief system? How is meaning different from belief?
comparable to a belief system, so like Christianity
Yeah.
or some shit like that?
Any like Santa Claus, Tooth Fairy, Jesus? Why you seem to be using this type of analogy to describe meaning?
Well, it is a core tenet of virtually every single religion, particularly Abrahamic religions. So,
Sure, you can find meaning in them, but they don't mean meaning, right?
I don't know what you mean by that.
Why is because you reject meaning because it is similarly not real, like these other things are not real. So your rejection of meaning.
Yeah, like when people
is-
think of meaning, it's like something that's outside of themselves that they have to obtain. It's something external, sort of like the idea of there being some sort of deity. It's not.
Okay.
It's some sort of external force that they're.
What if you're wrong about what people think is meaning or how they describe meaning for them? Have you thought about like a plurality of different views on this? That the word that you're using here is just your own personal definition of meaning?
Yeah,
the
I
way
mean,
you
there
view the
could
world?
be other people who describe meaning as simply something that they have an interest in. That's not how I see most people. That's not the definition that I see most people using, and especially people who follow Abrahamic religions, like particularly Christianity and Islam.
Sure. Well, I mean, I was always an atheist, like from day one, never really introduced to religion. So this is my natural state of being.
Mm-hmm.
But I can still completely understand and comprehend why someone would find a meaning in those.
Yeah, like
belief
if you're
systems.
defining meaning as something that you have a personal interest in, then I mean,
It sounds like you spent a
that-
large part of the last conversation refuting or denying going down this line of conversation because you refused to even entertain the idea that meaning was real. Therefore, no one can like.
Well, it is
Bring it
generated.
up.
Well, this is just a definitional thing. If you just see meaning as something that you have an interest in, then I have an interest in watching SpongeBob because it makes me laugh.
Sure.
Then
Those are
that's
your
a
purpose
that's
goals.
like that
Thing.
completely changes the conversation, and it's not really about nihilism anymore. When I'm discussing meaning, I'm discussing like a specific definition of meaning. It's not.
Well, you're also rejecting any other definition of meaning when you do that, right?
Not necessarily. Like,
Well, you're saying
again,
that
this is like if we're gonna focus an argument against a certain definition of meaning, yeah, you can define meaning as something that I don't know, just generates a personal interest in you. It's fine if we're gonna define it as that. Then just say personal interest. It's fine to have personal interests.
Not even that. I think you've defined this conversation by rejecting entertaining other people's views on meaning by saying, well, if it's not like if there's no evidence or argument for objective meaning in
Well, that's what I'm
reality,
arguing
then-
against.
yeah, but
Well,
so
I
you're,
came
you're
in.
the one putting forward a definition that.
Well,
that
look,
there's only one-
I had the same kind of argument with Zen Shapiro, where I was arguing with him about whether or not morality is objective. He then said he's working on a different definition of objective, where objective just means a commandment from God. That completely changes the like what we're talking about. We're talking about two completely different things. So it's a semantic argument. You're
right, but if your argument is predicated on this is the definition of meaning that I'm using, and if you use the word meaning in any other way, regardless of how many other people use it.
well,
that way,
this is a semantic
we're not
argument.
talking about.
Look,
we're not talking
this-
about the same thing.
So this is a semantic argument. If I'm arguing about a specific definition of meaning, you changing the definition of meaning
Nope.
doesn't change
What-
my argument. It just means you're
I'm-
talking about
I'm-
something else.
No, what I'm trying to argue is that your definition of meaning is wrong, and therefore the fact
Well,
that
it's not wrong.
the
I-
philosophy that you
agree
build on top
what
of
type
it
of meaning
is
we're talking about? Can we agree
is-
what type of meaning we're talking about?
is flawed.
We're talking about the meaning of life. We're talking about meaning, like words have meaning.
It's for you vegans to like clearly outline what meaning means in your rejection of meaning.
No, this is a semantic argument. So again, as an example,
You have to
I
tell
was
us what
debating-
you're rejecting for nihilism to work.
Yeah, so the idea that there is an objective meaning, there isn't.
Right. How does that lead to nihilism? Because you can still believe that there's no objective meaning, but still find meaning in things or make up your own meaning.
Yeah, certainly. And
Like
if
most
meaning
I would
to you
argue
just
most
means
people
a
do that.
personal interest,
That's
you
what
can
most
have
people-
personal interests. I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying.
You guys are arguing different things that just
Yeah,
happen to have the same
he's just
word,
making a
but
semantic
useless.
argument where he's arguing
I
about
think
something
Vegan
completely
Gains,
different.
I think you're overestimating or underestimating maybe like how many people view meaning in that context. I think most people.
Look, I was talking about a specific definition of meaning, meaning an objective meaning to the universe. If you
but-
don't believe in that, then
No, I do.
that's
I'm saying no. I do.
you believe in
I'm
an
agreeing with you.
objective meaning in the
No,
universe.
no. I believe there isn't one. There's no objective meaning. in
Right,
anything.
then you're arguing about something completely different than that I think we both agree on. Yeah, you can have personal interests. I'm
That's
not
not
saying you
nihilism.
can't have personal interests.
That's not nihilism.
Well, it is. You can be a nihilist and have personal interests. You can think you can like
No,
Star Trek.
I don't think you're understanding what nihilism is.
What is it?
You can't.
Do you think apathy is inherent to nihilism? Is that what you are saying, Pumper? Pump?
Pumpernickel. I think if you follow vegans' logic, then there's no good reason. How to word this? If you're following vegans' logic, you would rather broadly categorize a vast, maybe even majority of people on the earth, excluding highly religious people, as effectively unknowing nihilists. Because I do feel like a lot of people accept that there probably isn't a lot of objective meaning to existence or reality. But they still have an inclination to go out of their way to make a meaning for themselves.
So
search for
the majority of people on the planet are part of an Abrahamic religion.
Yeah, that's why I said excluding
secondly,
religious people.
Secondly, I would say even most people who aren't part of an Abrahamic religion and maybe are just like deists or something, or they believe in some kind of higher power, I would say the majority of them aren't nihilists or unknowing nihilists. Most people I've interacted with, even atheists, they even seem to think there is some sort of like objective meaning. Like Sam Harris would be a great example. And there's been a lot of memes with him and the Izzat Gap thing. But yeah, the argument you're making is just a semantic argument. You're just changing the definition and just talking about something completely separate to what I'm talking about. Sort of like how Zen Shapiro changed the definition of objective so that he's talking about something completely different so that he can dodge the argument I'm making.
I'm not changing the definition. I'm challenging.
You're using a different
foundations of your
definition to
philosophy.
talk
No,
about something completely separate to what I'm talking
right.
about.
I think you're using private language in the way that you describe the word.
I'm
meaning
not
and what
using
meaning
private
means to
language. I was
you.
very avert
I think
what I
you
was
are.
talking about. I mentioned over and over and over again, there is no
Right,
such
but
thing as
do you
objective
accept
meaning. That is something you agree with me on.
No. I'm saying, right, that's fine. But you are saying that there is no value in meaning because there is no objective meaning. That's what you're saying, right?
There's no value in thinking
That's
there
what
is
I-
objective meaning.
Right. But you're saying there's no value in meaning because there is no objective meaning. Is what you've been saying.
Are
No,
those are the same thing? If he
that's
says something
not
is
the same.
zero, so there's no
That's
value.
not what I was
It's like the
saying.
same
I was
thing.
saying there's no value in believing
If
there is
you-
objective meaning. You can like I never said you can't have interests. I like Star Trek. I like video games. I'm not saying there's no value in having interests, which is what you're suggesting. I was merely stating there is no value in believing there's any kind of objective meaning in the universe. I
were
never
demanding
said
people
there's no value in having interests. There absolutely
Right.
is.
Therefore that the objectivity or lack thereof of meaning is itself meaningless, right? It doesn't matter because you can still just live your life and be happy anyway.
There are plenty of people who do think there is objective meaning and they're perfectly happy. That is
And
true.
there are people that don't. and
I'm
they're perfectly happy.
right. What I'm pointing out is I think a lot of suffering is due to people believing there is objective meaning. I think a lot of people who are depressed because they haven't internalized nihilism. I think there are a lot of people who are causing suffering in their own lives who aren't necessarily depressed, but are suffering because they think there is objective meaning. And there are certainly people who aren't benefiting from life as much as they could be and extracting as much benefit from all their actions by believing in objective meaning.
Do you not feel like there's a little bit of maybe projection here? That's really how you've been
Well,
living
yeah,
your life?
I
so
am
far,
basing
and-
this off of my own subjective experience, and
So when you say
I'm
I
just-
believe a lot of people think this way, you don't really have any evidence of that. You just have a
well, no, I don't have any
research.
research that I can point towards, but based off my own personal experience and observations I've seen in other people,
for the 2 months.
I'm
since you've
just
had
offering
mission
this. Yeah,
trip. So 2 months of personal experience, I guess. and you've come to this grandiose, new, revolutionary for you view of the world. Do you think that's a pretty standard experience for you?
What do you mean?
That you come up with these grandiose, sudden.
What's grandiose about it?
Well, it's a very grandiose point of view for someone to turn on a dime after a lifetime of suicidal depression, to take some mushrooms, one trip, and flip the script like this. I think most people would.
Right. So
that
I'm
rather
just
remarkable.
asking what's grandiose about it.
I think you speak about this as if there's a something you find pressingly important about it for other people to hear. I think that's where I feel
you can look up Stoicism and Buddhism. These are ancient teachings that have existed for thousands of years. They overlap with my philosophical beliefs in nihilism. There is a very long history of philosophical beliefs that have talked about the human condition, the origins of suffering, and there's nothing really new about this. This is something that I've been interested in for quite a while, and it's something that I've recently learned about, internalized, and benefited from. So I'm not claiming that I've developed some sort of new groundbreaking philosophy that's going to change the world. This is just something that I've personally learned about and basically been able to apply recently that I think could benefit a lot of people. So what's grandiose
And
about
it
it?
came up.
I would say your
it came up because
grandiosity
you were
is
giving
your-
advice to somebody on a
It's
thing,
your
right?
your grandiosity is in your certainty that this is what you think it is. You've got it right this time. After a lifetime of not quite getting it right, not quite finding the right balance in how you value things or approach certain situations or react to things, this time.
So like
You've got
when I say something like you don't have to react in any particular way to any situation. You can look at things from like a third person perspective, laugh at everything, and just kind of go about your day and enjoy life. Like, what's grandiose about that?
No, I just described what I thought was grandiose, and I didn't mention those things.
Yeah, but like
The certainty that you think that this is something you can just do, that other people they just need to realize that they can just choose to not be sad about something. You seem very, very sure that this is something that people need to hear, that maybe they've not considered before or heard maybe your particular anecdote or experience with it.
Yeah, I think people can benefit from that.
And you don't even know whether it's actually worked for you yet, though, because you've only had this for 2 months.
I do know because it has been working.
Yeah, for 2 months, though. You have to have longer than that as evidence, right? We both
Okay,
accept
so
that, right?
like what? Can I come back here in 10 years and tell you about it and then it's not grandiose?
I think if you make it to like the best part of a year viewing the world like seriously like this, and you notice like long-term benefits and nothing's dropped off yet, you've not had any kind of regression, then yeah, I think that would make a stronger case.
Okay,
2 months after a single mushroom trip, you must accept that most people are going to think that's kind of
Okay,
whack, right?
well, here's the thing. We both agree there's no objective meaning. Meaning is something that's generated by your mind, by your own like sort of interests.
Yep.
If we can recognize that there is no meaning and life is really just some kind of stupid joke, and you can internalize
I don't know. That's where
that.
you lose me. That's where you lose me.
Well,
I don't think that.
like it is just a stupid joke. We're all
No, but
on a
you're just
fucking
saying
planet on a ball, spiraling
Right.
in the fucking universe. We're all gonna die. It is just a stupid joke.
That's the part where you miss. I think people are
It
losing.
is just a stupid joke. What is the
Okay,
ultimate
what-
like? What is the
Because
okay,
how
then
do you
what is
know
the objective
There doesn't
meaning?
have to be one. There doesn't have to be one. You
Yeah,
are
it is-
presupposing that there must be one.
It is
That people-
if there's
for
no
you, I
objective
feel like-
meaning, if there's no
I feel like
objective
you
meaning
need
and you
one.
agree with that, how is life not just some stupid joke?
Because I don't make it a joke. I make of it what I want to make of it. I can if it's a blank book with no meaning, I can put whatever meaning I project into it that I want to.
Okay,
It's
so you're telling me
I can make of
if
it whatever I
you're
want.
that if you're telling me there is no objective meaning and we're
Mhm.
just talking about descriptive facts, how is
Mhm.
life meaningful then?
Well, it's not my life isn't necessarily meaningful to you, but it is to me. And
Well,
you would never be able
sure.
to understand that, right?
Vegan,
Because-
earlier you said that Vegan, you said earlier that like your happiness matters, right?
No.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't?
No.
So then why do you care about the lack of suffering then?
Because
So what are you trying to do about that?
because I just have a personal interest in that.
Well,
Like
what's your
I also
personal
don't want to
interest?
see children getting raped.
Okay, but is that the only thing that like matters in the world? Or like
I'm not
just
saying
so
anything
confused with-
matters.
So then why does children being raped if nothing matters? Why does that bother you?
Because I don't like it.
But it shouldn't matter, right? It's meaningless.
I don't know how those two things are contradictory.
I mean, I don't
What's the
see why you're choosing to
proposition and
like
its negation?
personally suffer
Me-
over like the thought of like children
What's
being raped
the
when it like doesn't matter.
proposition and its
meaningless anyway.
negation? What's the
Well, because
contradiction?
you're choosing to suffer over the thought of like children being raped when you could just choose not to because nothing matters. No.
When did I say I'm suffering over children getting raped?
Well, you don't like it. You said that, right? So it bothers
Right.
you. So you're letting it bother you when it just could not matter.
That I'm not it's kind of weird. I don't really watch children getting raped. I've never seen a child get raped. So I don't know exactly what you mean by that.
So what I'm getting at is like nothing should really bother you if you're like truly nihilistic. Like the apathy is like a core foundation of like nihilism. It's
No.
like a core tenet of it that nothing
No.
matters, and so nothing should bother you. Nothing should upset you. You shouldn't be happy about anything.
So,
It's all
no.
meaningless. You, vegan Gains, subscribe to absurdism, which is that like we live in like a meaningless world. That there's like no purpose to the universe. That's all just chaotic.
Can you?
just don't
Yeah.
know, like, the term you're using.
So
And my issue that I have with you is that, like
okay,
you
right,
asserted
right,
earlier
okay.
that Pumpernickel is like using
what
like special
is
definitions.
what
You're
is
using
the
personal
proposition I'm
definitions.
making and its negation?
Well, your proposition is that you're subscribing to nihilism. My negation is that you seem to not know what the term absurdism is.
That's not a proposition, it's negation. I'm asking you for a contradiction. So a contradiction is a proposition and its negation. So what's the
So
proposition
when you
I'm
say that
making
like
and then the
something like
negation I'm
child rape
making?
bothers you, you then can't say, "Oh, I'm also a nihilist," because if nothing matters and it's all
No,
meaningless, then nothing
no,
should bother you.
no. That's not
Are
what
you
I'm
sure you were
saying.
diagnosed
Saying
with ASD and not ASD?
no is not like a counter argument, my man. Like I'm looking at
Look,
these definitions.
I
This
don't
is my
like
issue, is
sticking
that
my
you seem to
hand
be, like,
inside a boiling pot. Oh, I guess you're not a nihilist because you feel pain. Like,
yeah, that shouldn't bother you. Apathy is like a core tenet of nihilism, my man.
no, it's not.
So you just don't know what nihilism means, then. Or you're using a personal definition.
Nihilism is
It's fine,
just
but it's
the
really frustrating that, like, when you come into these
acknowledgement that
conversations and you're like
nothing
using
objectively
personal
matters.
definitions that are like very counter to like the common
Yeah,
colloquial
so
definition that we,
nihilism
like, all
is
agree with,
just
right?
nihilism is just a descriptive claim that there is no objective meaning. Nothing objectively matters. I can put my hand in a boiling pot and I can feel pain and I can want to move my hand away from the boiling pot so that I don't
But
feel
why should
pain.
that matter?
That doesn't mean I'm not a nihilist. It doesn't objectively matter. This is the like
then why should that
okay
be?
listen, this is the
What-
dumb
what it-
shit like God, like, oh, would you rather sleep on a cold stone floor or in a warm bed? I'd rather sleep in a warm bed. Oh, you're not a nihilist, got you. A nihilist wouldn't care either way. That's not what
Well-
nihilism is.
But that is, though.
No, it isn't. So,
So
I
I put
just
it in the
explained to you what
chat, I put
nihilism
down the
is.
definitions of what
I
nihilism-
just explained to you what
definitions of
nihilism
nihilism,
is.
and definitions
You
of
claimed I made a
egoism,
contradiction.
and
Well,
definitions
what's
of
the
absurdism.
proposition I'm making and its negation?
So you're saying that nothing matters, yet at the same time you espouse things like veganism and say that those things do matter. Why?
I'm not saying they objectively matter. They matter to me.
But you then push those ideas on other people, no? You
Right.
claim you want other people to be vegan, right?
Yeah.
But that shouldn't matter if you're a nihilist.
No, so nihilism is the rejection of the idea of objective meaning. Just because things don't have objective meaning, that doesn't
okay.
mean you can't have personal interests and preferences.
Can I ask this
I
another
have the
way?
personal
Yeah, that would be
preference that
absurdism.
people give animals the same rights as human beings.
Yeah, that would be absurdism, my man. Not
How is
nihilism.
that absurdism? How? So
Because
what's the
absurdism is the
proposition
belief that
and its
you're talking
negation?
about.
What's the proposition and its negation? Just you should be able to explain this in one sentence.
So your proposition is that nothing matters, but then the negation there is that you say things like
the
veganism
proposition
matters
is that
to you,
nothing
right?
objectively matters. So what's that negation?
So then something objectively mattering to you would negate that, yes?
Say that again.
So something objectively mattering to you, right, would
It
negate
doesn't
that.
objectively matter to
You
me.
understand that if it only matters to him, that is subjective, right? By definition.
Also,
You literally just
He wants
contradicted
other
yourself.
people
Just
to
to
be
be clear,
vegan,
this-
right?
I think TC, you think that there's an inherent link between apathy and nihilism?
Yeah,
You think they go hand in hand, that-
there isn't
Yes,
an
it's
inherent
like
link
the
between
bedrock
apathy and
foundation of it.
nihilism.
They can co-occur, but they're not inherent.
I disagree.
Okay, can you like what does apathy have to do with the recognition there is no objective meaning? How are they interlinked?
Because if nothing matters, then there's no meaning in caring about anything.
Yeah, so that doesn't mean you can't personally care about something.
No, but what do you?
That
What do
would,
you I
that would
think,
be absurdism, which is like a branch of nihilism. That's what I'm saying. So it's like this is a branch off thing that you're talking about, my man. This is absurdism. This is the belief that human beings exist in a purposeless, like meaningless, chaotic universe. But like you can still find things that that interest you personally.
Yeah,
But this isn't nihilism.
that is
what TC is
nihilism.
getting
That's
at is
actually
that
a branch of nihilism called existential nihilism.
No, it's oh my god. I literally put
Google
these definitions
existential
up.
nihilism, and why don't you read it out loud, and we can see how stupid you are.
Existential nihilism is the position that life has no intrinsic meaning or value. That's literally the same definition as absurdism. Did you not hear any of the words I just said to you?
Can you Google absurdism and
I
read
literally
the
put it in the, I
meaning of
put it in the stream
absurdism?
chat. I put it in the stream chat, my dude, because I don't have access to the side chat here.
Yeah, what's the definition of absurdism?
The belief that human beings exist in a purposeless, chaotic universe.
That is not the definition of absurdism.
So you're telling me that,
Mind
like,
if I just read it off of Wikipedia? Absurdism
Go
is the
for it.
philosophical theory that the universe is irrational and meaningless. It states that trying to find meaning leads people into conflict with the world. This conflict can be between rational man and an irrational universe, between intention and outcome, or between subjective assessment and objective worth. But the precise definition of the term is disputed. Absurdism claims that existence as a whole is absurd. It differs in this regard from the less global thesis that some particular situations.
Okay,
persons,
I didn't
or
realize
phases
there
of
was a
life are
philosophical
absurd.
belief called absurdism. I thought you were going to read a dictionary definition.
Oh yeah, it's a school of philosophy. I'm
Okay.
surt if you like Googled it, there would be like an article on the differences
Yeah,
between
so
nihilism and absurdism.
look, Boberto came in here claiming that I contradicted myself. I've been asking for you to point out the contradiction. A contradiction meaning a proposition and its negation. What's the proposition I've made, and what's the negation that I've made?
so let's go to earlier with the Pumpernickel's example of like the
No.
pet dying.
You claimed I contradicted myself. What's the proposition I made, and what's the negation I made?
So what objective value does a pet have to like humans in society?
So this is a sentence you can make, and it has to contain two phrases, one of them being the proposition I made, the other being the negation I made. So what's the proposition and its negation? You
That
can
there
just
is
admit
no
I didn't
intrinsic
contradict
meaning?
myself, and you
So
just
that there's no-
disagree
you said
with
there
my
was no
belief.
objective value to anything earlier, right? That's what you said. There's no objective value to things, right?
Yes, there's
But then
no
you
objective
said-
value.
then you
That's the
said in
proposition.
Pumpernickel's
What's the
example,
negation?
Pet does have, but then you said earlier that in the pet example that the pet did have some objective value to society.
No, I didn't.
I literally can pull this up in the VOD.
I
like when Jesus
didn't
was
say
offline.
pets
Yeah,
have an
you did.
objective value.
You said you did say that.
I said there are descriptive, objective benefits that a pet could have, but it's not a objective value.
And so you see benefits as value as like two completely different things.
Yes,
There's no value in like owning a pet.
A benefit and a value are two different things. If we're depending on how we define benefit, a benefit could be something that creates a happiness state within a conscious being. That is something that you could say is objective, but the value of that beneficial state, that's subjective. So happiness would be subjective. The state of happiness, though, is objective. But the value of happiness being a good thing, that's subjective.
Right, but vegan, you pin your
So
belief
wait,
systems, you belief
we're not
systems
done with this. Either admit
sure.
that I didn't contradict myself or point out the contradiction. So what's the contradiction?
So I guess in that example, then you wouldn't have contradicted
Okay.
yourself. Nice save.
So-
Okay.
Right. Okay. So, vegans. So you reject objective meaning in things. Obviously, we've covered that. You reject that. How do you get from that point, which I think a lot of people on the planet agree with you on? You know, almost every atheist might, and who still lives like a happy, fulfilling life. How do you get from that point to, and therefore life is a joke?
That
part,
you
you haven't qualified,
could
you haven't
consider
explored.
that. So you could consider that to be sort of like hyperbolic in some way. What I mean by life as a joke is it doesn't have any objective meaning. If it doesn't have any objective meaning, you could call it like you can call it a joke. That's what I really mean by it.
You can call it whatever, basically.
You can call it whatever. You can call it a joke. You can call it a clown show. You can call it a TV show.
You can
kind of-
call it a miracle. You can call it a good thing as well, a good word, a good adjective.
You could.
But you're choosing not to, right? You're choosing to use.
Well,
words
look,
that have,
with
like,
the
a
amount
negative
of
connotation, right?
with the amount of suffering and shit that exists, I don't think I just don't think it's apt to call it like a miracle. But
Yeah, sure.
you
Okay,
could.
but you're talking about the life that you experience, right? So if you were like a multi-billionaire some way that could just have everything they always wanted, and you just were ignorant of all the struggles and things in the world because
Yeah,
you
sure.
just didn't care,
Sure.
maybe you live on a little island of bliss and you think life is great and fantastic.
yeah, you could.
Okay, but so just for you particularly, life having no objective meaning necessitates that then life is a joke. That's where your conclusion is.
So
And this
just
helps you process your
so
emotions.
we're clear, like again, when I said life is a joke, it's in reference to the idea that life doesn't have any objective meaning. That's what I like actually mean by it.
Right. Why is and therefore it has less value to you?
Value is generated by the mind. It whether life is
okay. So
objectively meaningless, it doesn't make look, there's two ways of looking at things. If life has no objective meaning, that could, in one state of mind, mean it has less value because there's no objective thing giving it value. In another sense, it might have more meaning because you can make meaning from whatever you make out of it.
That's exactly what I'm getting at. So therefore, why would it matter whether life had meaning or not objectively? If you could say either way.
Well, that's kind of like that's oxymoronic.
No, it's not. I'm asking why would you have to make any description of whether life is meaningful or not?
What do you mean?
If it didn't, well, if based on whether life has meaning, or even if meaning is a thing that
my
exists.
point is what you said made no sense. If life has no objective meaning,
No,
how does that
it
affect
made
the
sense.
objective meaning?
It just no. It made sense. It just didn't make sense to you. I'm just saying, if life has no meaning, if that's your stance on things, like there's no meaning
No
to
objective
life. Life is a joke. Yep, no objective meaning. Life is a joke, and therefore you say life is a joke, and you could also say, well, it's also like a miracle, a positive thing, which we just covered.
Well, a joke
you
could
say
be a positive
anything, right? Okay, so it could be anything, right? So what is the purpose of your observation that life has no objective meaning in your philosophy of nihilism? If you can, off the back of that, basically say anything you want about life. What
Yeah, exactly.
new insight is this giving?
That's kind of the point I was getting at. Since it has no
right.
objective meaning, you can take of it whatever you will. And you have a choice now to either think of it positively or negatively. And the only reason I can think of to continue to exist is to get a benefit from existing. And the way I can figure we could get a benefit of existing is having a positive outlook on life.
Right.
Let me
Everyone
try
does
to bridge
this.
this 1 second, Pumper.
Yeah, sure.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Vegan Gains. You said that you like nihilism because it eliminates suffering, and I believe if other people are manipulated into believing a meaning for life, that they could be taken advantage of or be used to do bad things in the world, right?
That's not really what I said. I was pointing out that
it's not what you said. I'm just trying to.
I was pointing out that, you said that nihilism can lead to atrocities, and I pointed out that there are plenty of ideological beliefs that claim that there's some ultimate meaning that have created atrocities, like Nazism or communism or Maoism more specifically.
But if there's no meaning to life, why does it matter to you that other people understand that there's no meaning to life?
Well, I think it would create more of a benefit for society, and I live in a society, and I can benefit from that.
Okay, I think that's what he's asking for. He wants to understand that.
Kind of. That's like one side of the coin. The other side is if you can say off of the back of an acceptance that there is no objective meaning to anything you want. If you can say that life is great because there's no objective meaning, or everything's shit and meaningless, so don't bother trying because there's no objective meaning. If you can say anything you want, what is the importance of that message? It's just a worthless statement. There's nothing profound.
Well, look, I'm sure you've encountered people who are miserable and they're miserating on their life being meaningless, as if their life could be meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
If they just rejected that idea that it's impossible to have a meaningful life, well, then they're left with a decision where they can either look at things positively or negatively. If you have this idea of objective meaning and you're not fulfilling some kind of objective meaning, then by definition, you would have to miserate on that.
Do you think people are sad because life is meaningless or because they don't have the meaning that they want to have out of it?
It could be either or.
Right, but there's a big difference for your philosophy of both those two things, right?
So, sorry, state that again. Ask that question again.
Yeah, so you were saying that if someone's ruminating because they feel like their life is meaningless, then internalizing nihilism could be a way out of that way of thinking. But what if they're not ruminating because their life feels meaningless, but rather because they just don't have the particular meanings that they want?
Right, but if you realize meaning is generated by the mind, you can generate your own meaning and you can generate whatever happiness you want. SpongeBob could be meaningful to you, and sitting in a room and just jerking off all day could be meaningful, and you can generate happiness from that.
Do you really
That's
believe?
The point I'm making.
Okay, so do you really believe that you could just say, for example, you were super career focused and you were striving to get promotions every few years and stay ahead of the pay curve and all that kind of stuff? Do you believe you can just suddenly choose to not care about those things and enjoy SpongeBob and that's it? Do you think that's a rational
So
expectations
it's
that you could be
certainly
able to have of-
possible. It's certainly possible, and there are people who are in those situations. There are people who are star athletes, and they end up getting into a horrible like car accident. They've broken their legs or their spine, and they can no longer walk. And they have to make that sort of decision where they have to put
they
their
have
mind to
to, right?
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is absolutely possible. This idea that you're a slave to your own sort of like emotions and you can't change your interests.
But
It's
they
just
are
not true.
they're forced to reevaluate meaning in their life in that situation where they've lost function and capacity, right? So say nothing like that happens. Do you really believe it's like a normal human thing to just suddenly 180 and just change entirely what you want out of life?
Well,
your
what would
values,
be like? What would be the motivation? Like, yeah, no shit, it's not normal because there's no motivation for it. The point I'm
Well,
making. Well, like,
You're
look,
saying meaning is suffering, right? The motivation would be a belief that what you're saying is true, that they could get a similar amount of joy from doing anything else
they can.
if they
Yeah,
just
they certainly
chose
can.
to. Okay, you haven't evidenced that with anything that you've said so far.
Well, look,
This is just your hunch based on 2 months of post mushroom.
I don't have to make a hunch because you can see people who have done this.
Yeah. I don't think it's as common as you think it is, and I think the
I'm not
particular
saying it's
motivations for
common.
those
I'm
people
saying it
probably aren't
can be
along the
done.
lines of what you're thinking. Right? Can is not the same as like just something can be done. Is not.
Well, look,
it's not useful.
The most morbidly obese person in the world could choose to lose weight. It may be very difficult for them, but it's not that like I don't see how it benefits anybody to tell them they can't because your genes and your
I'm not saying
your
telling them you
circumstances.
can't. I'm saying what benefit is them to tell a fat person you can just lose weight, so just lose weight, bro. That doesn't.
I'm
work
not
either.
saying that.
You're saying that you can just.
I'm not
choose your
saying
emotional
you can.
state, right?
Yeah, so I'm not saying it's easy to change your mental state. This is something that was very fucking difficult for me, and I had to do a lot of mushroom trips, a lot of thinking about it, and finally it did happen to me.
Was it a long process? You were trying to do this with the mushrooms, or because it sounded like you had one mushroom trip and then this was a eureka revelation moment?
No, I was trying to do this for a long time.
You were going into the mushroom trip like with this nihilistic philosophy in mind, trying to channel it.
Yeah.
Do you think there might be a risk of little confirmation bias in that process?
Yeah, there could be. But again, you admit it. You agreed with me. You can change your mindset.
Right. A morbidly obese person can lose weight, but that doesn't mean that observing that something is technically possible means it's in any way meaningful to say to somebody or to.
So I don't know what benefit anybody is getting from you telling them you cannot change your set of circumstances. You can't change your mindset around
I'm not
food.
saying they can't.
You can't like work towards something and actually change your outlook so it's easier to lose weight. This is something that's difficult and it doesn't come easy, and you're not necessarily able to flip things on a dime.
Yeah,
but this sort of yeah. So this like again, there are people who are like Buddhists or Stoics who spend their entire lives trying to actually like achieve certain mental states where they can relieve themselves of the human condition. I'm not saying it's easy for anybody to just change things on a dime. What I'm saying is, in order to make some of these changes, like you do have to realize that there is no objective meaning to the universe. I think that is something that you have to do in order to have some of these changes of mind.
And you could only do that with the help of mushrooms, right? You failed at any attempt to do this yourself without mushrooms. Is that accurate?
I guess like mushrooms were the thing that got me to there. I'm not saying you can't do it with like meditation or something or just mental practice.
Right, that never worked for you though, right? So
by the way, I don't
would you suggest
advocate
more
for
people
everybody
try?
to take mushrooms. They do come with a risk of inducing psychosis or schizophrenia.
Okay, so I can tell. So
So what would indicate to you that I suffer from psychosis or schizophrenia?
I don't think you suffer from either of those things. I think you are having a bit of a manic upswing right now. That's what I think.
Okay, well, time will tell.
Time will tell. And I'm not trying to dunk on you for that either. But it seems very interesting to me because
I've been concerned with this personally, that it could be a manic episode or something. But
sure. It's always healthy to keep that in mind.
It just doesn't seem like that.
Yeah. Okay. Great. It never does either, right?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Okay. So with this though, you only got to this point with the help of mushrooms, right? So do you
I wouldn't say only.
believe? Well, like it was the catalyst, right? You had all of these thoughts before, right? So you couldn't get to this part now where you had these thoughts, you had this philosophy, you had these views, and then you tried to channel that with your mushroom trip. But it wasn't until this particular mushroom trip where stuff actually started to stick intrinsically in your thinking, your approach, your reactions to situations, right?
Yeah, the way I would describe it was I had the knowledge, I just didn't internalize the knowledge. I couldn't feel it.
Right, and you think other people would benefit from this if they can do this as well, but you don't know any reliable way outside of mushroom trip that worked for you for this to be.
I wouldn't say that. Like again, I wouldn't recommend anybody to just take mushrooms. I think some people can benefit from them. Some people can be very much harmed from them. So I wouldn't say the only way you can benefit from some of these things is from just taking mushrooms. But you do see these sorts of techniques being used in cognitive behavioral therapy, where if you tell yourself something over and over again, you will start to kind of understand these things and change your view. So I tell people, like, whenever you're in a circumstance where you're frustrated or feeling really miserable, saying it doesn't matter, none of this matters. And if you can tell yourself that, put yourself in a third person perspective and look upon your life, that might help you kind of change your way of thinking so that you don't miserate on some of these things. You can get rid of some of that anxiety. And I've also talked about meditation techniques to help with this.
Right. You seriously, unironically, truly believe that telling people nothing matters with their depression is a way out of their depression?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, if it doesn't matter, why would you miserate over something?
Do you see that could be like potentially harmful to someone who's like on like a dangerous like psychological edge though?
Could be potentially.
So this isn't really. So it's something that could be good, could be bad, could be helpful, could be harmful, could be anything you make of it. Right?
There are people who've had like psychiatric breakdowns from reading Catcher in the Rye. There was a guy who tried to assassinate the president because he watched the movie Taxi.
Right. This is a non sequitur. I mean, we all understand these things. That's fine. But you're saying that this thing is a good approach for people to take.
Look, I think you're trying to reduce what I'm saying down to the absolute most minimalist terms, and you're like, oh, you're going to tell somebody who's suffering from depression nothing matters. Oh, so you're telling them, well, it doesn't matter if they die or not. Like that's not what I'm saying.
You just said that. You said that you telling someone who's depressed that nothing matters could help them. Those are your words.
So let's put things into context. When I say nothing matters, I mean nothing objectively matters. If nothing objectively matters, so the cause of your depression may be because of your financial circumstances, you might be in bad relationships, your parents might be abusing you, or your spouse might be abusing you. If you can keep in mind that nothing these people are doing matters, then you might be able to put yourself in a mindset where you become more immune to some of these things. Or if your partner is calling you an dumb, ugly, useless fuck, well, it doesn't matter what they're saying. It doesn't matter if I am dumb or ugly or useless, even if that were true. These things have less of an impact on you emotionally if you can actually internalize that message that what they are saying doesn't matter, and some of these things, even if they are true about me, it doesn't matter. It may have less of an impact on you, and it might not affect you as much emotionally, and that might help with your depression. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but in very real terms, they actually do matter. Like if your wife calls you a dumb, lazy piece of shit, that matters because then she might divorce you, and then you've lost the house or something. That feedback it matters, and the emotion.
Also matters. It's like one of the most important people in your life telling you that like you're fat.
There are consequences to these comments.
I'm not saying there aren't
consequences.
Look, I'm not saying there aren't consequences to some of the things that are happening and what these people are saying. What I'm saying is, if you have these things that are affecting you emotionally and you are putting this over importance on something, if you can remind yourself at the end of the day, this doesn't matter, they're not going to have as much of an emotional impact on you. And look, whether you divorce your wife or break up in a relationship or stay together, that is going to have an impact on your life. But if you can recognize none of this objectively matters, you can minimize some of the emotional impact this is going to have on you, and that might help with your depression. And you can make decisions in life that are going to actually benefit you. And that includes the way, like your mental outlook on things. If people are abusing you and you realize that, look, it doesn't matter what they're saying, then you can just and they don't matter. you can make a decision to leave them. They don't matter. You don't need them. You
Yeah.
don't need those things for anything to matter because nothing
Um,
matters.
I just want to ask.
yeah.
I know you guys disagree with nihilism, but you disagree with the point that he's making here because this maps onto a lot of therapeutic practices to overcome panic attacks, PTSD, anxiety. The idea that our body will respond in ways that make us feel that there's an immediate urgency, and so we have to tell ourselves this does not matter, this will pass. Like sentiments, like just as that.
Yeah, I completely understand that. I've experienced panic attacks myself. I understand the value of recognizing when something matters or something doesn't matter. I question strongly where vegan gains is putting the line of something mattering too much versus mattering an appropriate amount that you ought to care about it.
How
And
are
he
we?
seems to think,
Yeah. So
and you
how
seem
are
to think that
we?
if your wife or spouse calls you ugly and stupid,
Well,
that
oh
what does
my
it matter?
God.
I think there's an
Dude.
appropriate amount of mattering that.
Okay,
could be
dude,
observed there.
you
That's
are
neither
mixing
healthy
up
nor
you are
unhealthy.
mixing up so many terms. You're trying to minimize
Nope,
some of the
I'm
things I'm
not
saying.
mixing. I'm
How are
just
we
describing.
How are we
Okay. Go back
determining
on the
what
VOD.
matters and what doesn't matter? Like, what is
You
the
do that yourself. You make it up. You choose.
right? You make it up. So
Yes.
what are the logical processes to what we're doing that makes up what does and doesn't matter? So
Okay, so
your wife
things- so
calling
for
you
example,
stupid.
yep.
So your wife calling
But-
you stupid and
yep.
ugly.
Yeah, so my wife called me stupid and ugly. I would say, well, that matters to me because I don't want her to leave me. So I'm going to try and fix those things. I need that feedback. It's important. It matters. And I will change my future conduct based on that to improve my life outcomes, to improve my living
Right. So you're
situation.
looking at what benefits you.
Yes.
That's the point I'm making.
No.
Yes,
no,
that's
it's not.
literally the point I'm making.
You were
We're
just
trying to
saying-
live a
no.
life that benefits us. That's
Yes,
the only
yes.
reason I can think
Right.
of for why we
Yes.
continue to exist. That's the point I'm making.
Right. That's
So
great.
what
True
I'm
altruism
saying
doesn't
is-
exist. We can agree.
What
That's
I'm
no problem,
saying
right?
is there is no objective meaning. If there's no objective meaning, we don't have to worry about fulfilling, like, I don't know, certain obligations that we think like some society is telling us to fulfill. I don't have to live life as a heteronormative individual. I don't have to like marry someone or have kids because otherwise my life would be meaningless. We can just look at things from a descriptive standpoint, an objective standpoint of what does or does not benefit us.
Right.
We don't have to
And,
introduce this
and-
idiotic idea of there being objective meaning. And by the way, you did this again. You're changing the definition of meaning to mean what benefits you. So I
No,
never disagreed with you that we
no,
shouldn't
I'm not-
we shouldn't
I'm
live a
not
life that
changing-
benefits us.
I'm not changing the definition of meaning. Okay. You were saying there is no.
You're going by two
objective-
different you're
you're
going by two
saying-
different definitions and swapping between them whenever it
No,
suits you
no,
to try
no,
to
you
make
were
what I'm
saying-
saying look
let me
stupid.
finish. You're doing that all by yourself, buddy. You're saying that there is no objective meaning. Therefore, if your spouse says those things about you, it doesn't mean anything, and therefore it doesn't matter. I'm saying, well, it can still.
That's not what I
matter a
said.
lot.
That's not what I said. And you
Go back-
perfectly
go back on the
described
vote.
what
Go
I
back
was
on the vote,
talking
please.
about. I never.
Please go back and listen.
You perfectly just described what I was
Because-
talking about. You're switching between two different definitions of meaning to try and make me look stupid. I pointed
No,
out
I'm-
that
I'm-
if your
I'm
wife,
really, really
sorry,
not.
quiet. Let me explain.
Yeah, okay, buddy,
I
sure.
was pointing out that if your spouse is calling you stupid and ugly, and you're being in an abusive situation, if you are able to internalize this idea that nothing objectively matters, you can mitigate some of that abuse because you can look at it as something that is just silly and stupid. It doesn't matter. You're mitigating the impact it has on you. Now, if your wife is calling you stupid and ugly because you are doing stupid things, you're like, I don't know, spending your money on fucking gambling or cigarettes or alcohol, if you are letting yourself go, not taking care of yourself, that is something that's going to harm your relationship and it's not going to benefit you. But the point I was making with rejecting meaning is that if you are being abused, if there is a situation that is
You can move
causing
the
you
goalpost
mental
to abuse,
stress,
by the way.
you can mitigate some of that by just acknowledging, look, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. That doesn't mean I'm telling you to not do things that benefit you, like work harder in your relationship. You're doing exactly what I just pointed out.
No,
You're
what
going
you're
by
saying now
two
is
different definitions of
only
meaning,
negative things
swapping
don't
between
matter.
them, and then
Well,
you're
you're
saying,
saying now
oh, well,
only-
you
only
think it doesn't matter if
abusive-
you're like a fucking
only
idiot
abusive,
drunk and
negative
gaining
comments
weight
don't
and your
matter
wife
now.
fucking
Whereas
thinks you're a piece
before,
of shit.
You had a more worldly, broader view that there is no objective meaning anything, so nothing matters. But now you want to talk particularly and specifically about, well, just don't accept any negative emotions or abusive situations because ultimately those things don't matter. That's an entirely different conversation.
No. You are just mixing around with what I'm saying, and you're going on different definitions of meaning
No,
whenever
I'm-
it suits you for the purpose of argumentation.
I'm really
So,
not.
look,
I'm
to-
just showing you how
look-
meaning
In basic,
You don't have a
simple
good metric in
terms,
your system of deciding where meaning ought to be paid attention to. The importance or the relevance of meaning being objective or not is important to your life outcomes, your benefits even that you might get out of life, your existence. You have no system for drawing any kind
yes,
of
I do.
delineation.
Yes, I do.
How-
And we
okay,
all
so
construct
how-
that in our own ways. We all have our
Right.
own different cost-benefit analyses.
Right. Okay. So what you're describing is how most neurotypically healthy people just seem to view the world in the absence of religion.
Right?
So this isn't nihilism.
I wasn't talking about nihilism in that particular
Okay.
circumstance.
Okay, sure. Okay, I think I can't convince you. You just okay. Now you're not talking about nihilism. Yeah. Thanks for inviting me in, jstlk. Cherry. Hope you guys have a good night and good luck.
All right. Yeah, thanks
Bye.
for coming in. See you around.
I'm at out too, man. Fun chat, man. Looking at absurdism because I feel like that's something that I feel like you would dive deeply into. I feel like you would definitely get a lot out of that. And thank you, Betty O, for giving me the clipping stuff. Appreciate that, man.
Okay.
Later, gang.
Muted?
Yeah, I
See
did.
ya.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm out.
Bye.
I just wanted to ask Vegan Gains, when you say nothing matters or there's no meaning to life, specifically, what is it that you're saying?
Well, hold on.
There's
Do
no
you
objective
still wanna-
meaning.
You want to keep going, Vegan?
There's
to
no
make sure
meaning.
you're
So
fine.
there's nothing outside of your mind that is mind dependent. Sorry, mind independent that generates meaning. So meaning is
Do you-
something that's entirely generated by your mind. That's what I mean by that.
Do you think that most atheists think that there is some sort of objective meaning?
I'm not sure. I think there's many that do. Sam Harris would be an example. I don't have any empiric metrics to say either way, but I think there are many that do.
Sam Harris is an example of that, but I feel like most of the atheists that I've ever seen talk about Sam Harris feel like his opinion on there being some sort of objective meaning is stupid.
Yeah, it is
I
stupid.
mean, I don't know a lot of atheists, but most of the atheists I've ever seen have said that that's stupid, that it makes no sense. That you can't derive an ought from an is.
Yeah, most people that have debated Sam Harris or seen his debates point out that what he's saying is stupid. That is, however, different than there's a difference between being able to point out that something is wrong or true or stupid or accurate versus actually living that in your own life. So some of the people who are criticizing Sam Harris for not being able to cross the Izot gap, but claim there is such a thing as like objective meaning or objective morality, they may still actually live life thinking that unknowingly, even though they do know consciously that that's the case.
I feel like it's more appropriate to say that they act as if life still has an objective meaning. Otherwise, they feel like they wouldn't be moved to do anything like in any direction. Rather than thinking that there genuinely is one, they just act as if there is one.
I don't know. There's not many vegans that I see.
What does that mean? How does that correlate to what I just said?
Well, so you're saying people act as though there's some sort of objective, moral values. A lot of people contradict their own values. So, almost everyone I've debated on veganism, they clearly contradict their own values. So, I don't think most people kind of live in a way where they believe in some sort of objective moral truth that motivates them. A lot of people do kind of live for their own interests, and they only really care about moral issues that don't really affect them. Like, look at all the pro-Palestinian protesters. Like, nothing that's happening in Palestine really affects them, but if you ask them about things that they would have to actually make a life change in, like, none of them are vegan, but they're contradicting their own moral views, supposedly, when they believe in, like, universal human rights, but they don't think, like, animals should have human rights.
Do
I
you
don't
guys
want to
wanna
get too.
wrap this up in like 5-10 minutes?
Yeah, sure. I don't have much to ask. I only have like one or two more questions to ask.
Okay.
Do you maybe they just don't feel like animals deserve rights purely because of the fact that they're not humans?
Yeah, well, you can debate these people, and then they'll just contradict their own moral values. I've had a lot of vegan debates about this, and a lot of people will admit that they are actually contradicting their own values. So, I
Okay,
don't think people really think about their moral values all that much. morals are a very emotional thing. So I think people just kind of think about their emotions more than anything else.
Okay. Previously, before you had this mushroom trip, and then you realized that nihilism is the key to life. Did you used to think that there was some sort of like objective meaning to life, but like maybe you couldn't find it or you didn't know what it is? Is that what you thought?
A very long time ago. Eventually, like this has to be over a decade. Yeah, I became a nihilist, and it's very hard to change your mindset because I think we are sort of naturally wired into thinking that there is sort of some sort of objective meaning or purpose to life, and two, there's a lot of social factors that also kind of pressure you to think that way, even though you might consciously know there is no objective meaning to anything. So it's a change in mindset, not just a change in knowledge.
Okay. Change of mindset, not just a change of knowledge. Okay, so you've had this knowledge, let's say, for a long time, but your mindset hadn't changed. You still felt like there was until very recently. Until this happened like very recently?
Yeah, it's been about 3 months.
Okay. Why is it that what you prefer or like what you like isn't just like a substitute for meaning?
Well, I mean, that's where meaning is generated from. Like, there's no objective meaning. We kind of just create meaning in our own mind. Like every value we have is just a set of preferences. That's all it is.
And you truly feel like this is like news to a lot of people?
No, it's so a lot of people know this. This is news certainly to like a lot of Christians, Muslims. I've debated a lot of Christians on this and Muslim apologists. It's definitely news to them. In the atheist community, not really. When it comes to talking with the atheist community, it's really just explaining the mindset involved. Because, like, I'll give examples. Like, you can look at rage clips on like r/public freakout. You can laugh at that. But if it were to happen to you, you would kind of be one of these people who are getting mad, angry, freaking out. And like my goal is to show people that it really is just a mindset. There's nothing that really should make you angry. Anger just comes from the mindset you have of being in that situation personally. But there's no reason it should. You can just choose to change your mindset and look at things from like a third person perspective and realize how ridiculous everything is.
Okay. Are you married or you have a girlfriend?
married.
One of the two? Okay. If I kidnapped your wife, wouldn't you get angry?
I don't know if I'd get angry. I'd definitely want to.
Well, you would experience some sort of negative emotion, right?
Yeah. I'm just trying to think. I don't know if I'd get angry. I just feel very motivated to get her back and like kill you.
Okay. Oof. I was just gonna need you to feel something there.
Yeah, I just don't like. Okay, so let's say you feel that motivation. Wouldn't that? I mean, that would be like a personal meaning, a personal goal that you have.
Yeah.
But for some. Okay, so you're just saying that there's no objective meaning.
I'm just saying there's no objective meaning, and me being in a relationship with Jasmine benefits us both. And you taking her away from me would be a negative for us both. So, I think in the relationship, because there is sort of this loyalty involved where, we benefit from a relationship where we help each other. I would want to help her, and I'd also want to help myself by getting her back. So I'd hunt you down and kill you.
And then, can you just take her back? I don't think you have to kill me.
Yeah,
No,
why
I'd
would
kill
you
you.
have to kill him?
Well,
It's gonna make him feel happy.
Put me in jail, nigga.
It does make him happy.
No, I'd kill you. The reason is I don't see any reason why I'd have a motivation to keep you alive.
True, because he might do it again.
Well, you might do it again. You might do it to somebody else, and I just don't. I don't see why. Why would I have any motivation to keep you alive? I just don't see any point. It doesn't benefit me in any way. So if somebody tried to kidnap my wife, I'd kill them.
Would you kill like all the lions in the world if you could?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
I've actually
Okay.
debated
That's
this
like
before.
that's something he's answered like 1,000 times. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Can't argue with that. All right. Never mind. No, I understand what you're saying. It's just like it's shocking to me that this is like a maybe not a revelation. I mean, like you said, it's not that you haven't had the knowledge. It's just that you haven't been able to like really
The
experience
issue
that
is
and
the
put it into
change in
practice.
mindset. That's the
Yeah,
issue.
yeah, yeah.
A lot of people know this, but they haven't learned how to apply the mindset. And I'm trying, with a lot of people in the atheist community, help them apply the mindset.
Yeah, I don't think that you've done a very good job of explaining how to apply that mindset. And to be honest, I don't think it's actually
Well-
really possible to apply the mindset. I think
Well,
it's just
in this
said
debate,
it was a trip
I've had
moment, which
issues
lifted it for
because
him.
people have been like using two different definitions of like meaning and objectivity, and we were kind of talking about descriptive things most of the time. But I was talking about mindset, like, a technique of putting yourself in the third person, where, you'd laugh at a rage freak out video on Reddit, but you wouldn't laugh at if it happened to you. Well, you're in that same situation, so why can't you put yourself in the third person perspective and just laugh at it? You can tell yourself over and over again when you're in these situations, look, this doesn't matter. That can help change your mindset.
You know what's funny is that I actually have the same type of mindset, but like I'm Catholic. So like I don't know, like do you feel like this is a mindset that is only really accessible to atheists, or that
Well,
it's just more common for it to be
it
possible?
kind
for
of
atheists to feel that way?
depends, because you can be religious and think, okay, well, if I be a good boy, I'm going to go to heaven. So, all these people bitching about bullshit, it doesn't matter because I'm going to go in the good place later. You could have that mindset that way, but again, the way I see things play out usually is if you think there is some sort of like objective meaning, I don't see most people having that kind of mindset.
Okay.
Like, again, you
Yeah.
can look at
This was a
like
great
these
talk.
rage videos on Reddit. Most of them are probably like Christians or something, or freaking out.
On Reddit?
So, yeah,
Oh, okay,
like
Yeah,
r/freakout. Most of these people, in these road rage incidents. The United States is a mostly Christian nation. Most of these people in these videos are probably identify themselves as Christians, and they don't have this mindset that I'm going to go to heaven anyway. This person yelling at me or cutting me off doesn't really matter. I think the idea that there is some sort of objective meaning, that people owe you something, that things should be this way all the time, it kind of lends itself to having poor emotional regulation and freaking out about shit.
Okay. Well, it was nice to pick your brain. It seems like people are getting a little tired.
Yeah, no
So,
problem.
all right, peace out.
All right, see you, Benny. Thanks for coming on. Bye.
Hi, Benny.
Bye bye.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'm probably gonna call it. I was actually gonna end stream like an hour and a half ago, but
Okay.
it seemed like people were enjoying the conversation, so I was like, yeah, might as well let it keep rolling.
All right. Well, I
yeah,
just
you
heard
have
your
permission
YouTube
to this
channel got
channel anytime.
terminated, by the way. What the fuck happened?
Oh, that was a long time ago. I was watching a video that was on Kick, and or sorry, I was watching a VOD of a friend on Kick, and they were drunk and they were fighting, and I wasn't thinking, right? I was just streaming it,
Right.
and the guy was saying there's two people who were in like the Ice Poseidon-ish community, like adjacent. One of them was like, F slur, you need to kill yourself, you fucking F slur, repeatedly, right?
Okay.
And actually for the stream, I didn't get clapped. But unfortunately, when we go to post VODs, there was like an auto cleaning script there.
Okay.
And just like because I'd streamed it and hadn't taken the VOD down, my editor like clipped it and it didn't get censored properly. And then for some audio issues, it actually got posted multiple times. And so it was like monetized and posted with unfortunately the slurs in it.
Okay.
And it was like, fuck.
I'll be
But like
mindful of that.
yeah, well, it was such an unfortunate thing because we had like a process with this with like some I think it was using like the OpenAI Whisper API, which like transcript stuff, and then it was cutting out all of
that's
the slurs
why.
and whatever.
Okay.
Right? So we were automatically doing it, and like it was just so we'd done this like 50 times with videos, and it was totally fine. And this one time, it happened to get posted multiple times. I think it was only posted once. I wouldn't have gotten terminated. I think I would have just gotten like a strike, right?
Right.
But it happened to get posted multiple times. And yeah, I went through YouTube. I got like help from really big people and went through like YouTube's like best support system you can go through. That
Right.
like fuck it, probably like I don't even think Destiny has access to like the guy I was talking to.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, because I went through
That's
yeah,
fucked up too, because
but-
you were reacting to it. It's not something that you actually
Yep.
like. That has to have just been bad luck.
Well, it was bad luck, but I can't get anybody. It's like everybody understands that it's like kind of unfair, especially because I had no other I never had a strike on the channel, right?
Yeah.
But like yeah, everybody understands it's unfair, but I can't get like it doesn't matter. The people who look at it, it's all the same trust and safety teams at YouTube, and they're all in like different countries, and there's just no way to go. It's like even if you get somebody to help you, they go through those same trust and safety teams. They just have a better idea of how to get things through them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
yeah, it sucks. But the thing I was thinking, so the channel technically isn't registered in my name, and I wasn't participating in the content that got it banned. So I feel like I have an argument that it's like an ensemble, and so we'll do something else
Okay.
there
Well,
eventually.
good luck, dude.
Yeah, thank you. I was gonna say though, you have permissions to this channel. If you ever see that there's stuff you want to drop in on, like some convo, yeah, you drop in whenever you want.
Okay.
Feel free.
All right.
Okay, thanks
All
for
right.
coming on.
Take care, dude.
Cool having you.
Bye.
Yeah, you too.